Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining in on this World Snake Day Symposium presented by Save the Snakes. For those of you that don't know me, I am Hiral Naik. I am the Research and Conservation Manager at Save the Snakes, and today we are very excited to be presenting this lovely symposium featuring presentations from our conservation partners from around the world. So a quick introduction on Save the Snakes. Save the Snakes is an organization that operates globally through our conservation partners, and we are headquartered in the United States, specifically in Sacramento, California. We began as an organization in 2017, and since 2018, we have been able to support projects around the world. And to date, we've been able to support about 40 projects in 20 different countries, which is really fantastic. It's really fantastic to see that there are so many organizations and individuals working on snake conservation, education, and research in different parts of the world. And we exist to be able to support them in any way we can. And going forward, one of the things we hope to do is share a lot more about the important work that they are doing, and hopefully make some kind of positive change when it comes to snake perception and the way snake conservation is done globally. So first up, I'm going to share my presentation from our conservation partner in Sri Lanka, Taranga. But just a quick reminder to everybody to make sure that your mics and videos are off. You are currently in a viewer mode, which means that you won't be able to put your video or mic on anyways. But please do add in your comments and questions in the chat. And please be patient with us. This is the first time we are trying this out.
Hello, I'm Taranga. I'm going to present on habitat utilization and biogeography of Sri Lankan green-feet viper, Peltopero trigonocephalus in three climatic zones of Sri Lanka. This is my content. Then introduction. Why study snakes? About 3,600 species found worldwide, although they are present on every continent apart from Antarctica. When considering ecological role, they play an important ecological role, act as both middle-level predator and prey. Let's move on to Sri Lanka. It is a major biodiversity hotspot with highly endemic herpetofauna. Over 100 snakes recorded. Among the 4-pit vipers, 2 are endemic, including the Sri Lankan green-pit viper. The Sri Lankan green-pit viper, scientific name Peltopero trigonocephalus, endemic to Sri Lanka. It is classified as least concern. This is taxonomic classification. Conservation importance. Its high sensitivity to habitat alteration makes it an effective bioindicator of healthy rainforest ecosystem. Therefore, we should protect them. It is not only for their survival, but also for forest conservation. Knowledge gaps. Limited public research on the behavior, ecology and genetics of P. trigonocephalus. Therefore, comprehensive field-based ecological data is urgently needed to guide conservation efforts. Research objectives. First one, to investigate the habitat utilization and associated behavioral patterns. Second one, to perform phylogeographic analysis. Third one, to examine the color pattern variations. Then methodology. The study was conducted in 3 climatic zones covering dry zone, intermediate and wet zone. Sampling of P. trigonocephalus. Sampling was conducted via visual encounter surveys. Modeling current habitat suitability. Presence data were collected from field surveys and published literature. Then geographic layers, 19 bioclimatic variables, elevation, Euclidean distant water body, and land use cover were used to conduct modeling current habitat suitability. How to prepare data for habitat modeling. All variables were checked correlation using EM tools. After checking correlation and removing those that were highly correlated, finally selected variable for final analysis. Then future habitat suitability. MicroSys climatic model was used to predict future habitat suitability under 2 scenarios. First one RCP 4.5, second one RCP 8.5. This table shows number of variables considered for final analysis. Occupancy modeling. This model estimated 2 key parameters. First one site occupancy and second one detection probability. This table shows covariate used in the analysis of occupancy and detection of P. trigonocephalus. Then microhabitat utilization. The following microhabitat variables were recorded. Recording of perch type. Perch type were categorized into sapling, trees, vine and fallen branches. Determination of perch type. Perch type was recorded according to these layers. Behavioral patterns were recorded under these time period: morning, midday, evening, late evening, night and early morning. The following morphometric measurements were recorded to determine morphometric characteristics. Each P. trigonocephalus individuals were classified into juvenile, subadults and adults based on total body length, tail length, head width, head length and snout to head length. Then molecular analysis. A total of 24 of P. trigonocephalus were sampled covering wet zone, intermediate and dry zone. Ventral scales and tissue samples were collected and preserved in 80% ethanol for DNA extraction. This map shows sampling location where tissue samples were collected for molecular genetic analysis. This table shows location for collected samples. Then genomic DNA was extracted using QIAP DNA mini-kit. This table shows PCR primers I conduct to molecular analysis. Then phylogenetic analysis. Phylogenetic trees were created based on maximum likelihood and Bayesian inference. The maximum likelihood was carried out by IQ3 web service and Mr. Bayes was used to perform Bayesian inference. Species delimitation methods, ABGD and MPT method were used to determine species delimitation. Then haplotype network and genetic diversity. Haplotype network was created using PopArt software. Then genetic diversity was calculated using DNASP software. Genetic structure and differentiation analysis. Analysis of molecular variants was used to conduct genetic structure. Then color pattern. Determination of color pattern variation. Following parameters recorded. First one, dorsal ground color, dorsal pattern color and dorsal pattern shapes. Based on generalized linear model. Generalized linear model was used to analyze the relationship between color pattern variation and environmental factors. Dorsal ground color, dorsal pattern shape and dorsal pattern color were used as a dependent variables. Then elevation, temperature and precipitation were used as a independent variables. Then results and discussion. Microhabitats were categorized into riparian, forest and open habitat. Macrohabitat use, the majority of individuals were recorded in riparian habitat because they select their environment based on availability of food and shelter site for their survival and dispersal. Then habitat suitability. Total of 179 occurrence points were recorded. 68 individuals were directly observed. According to this response curve, the AUC value is greater than 0.8. Therefore, it indicates good predictive value for max and model. And according to current suitability map, the area in the wet zone are highly suitable. Contribution of environmental variable. Bio12 is the most contribution environmental variable to predict current habitat suitability. According to this response curve, higher value of temperature, precipitation, and elevation negatively affected habitat suitability. Therefore, they preferred moderate precipitation, elevation, and temperatures. According to jackknife test, Bio12 had the highest gain. Modeling future habitat suitability. According to this response curve, all AUC values are greater than 0.8. It indicates good predictive performance for max and models. Habitat suitability map. According to habitat suitability map, habitat suitability area have reduced more under RCP 8.5 compared to RCP 4.5. Then, when considering present and future habitat suitability, by 2040, habitat suitability could decline by 21.5% under RCP 4.5 and by 33.34% under RCP 8.5. Occupancy modeling. Temperature was the most significant covariate for site occupancy, as well as precipitation and elevation negatively affected detection probabilities. Then habitat occupancy. Occupancy probability was significantly higher in the riparian habitat than in other two habitat types. Anthropogenic motility and occupancy probability distribution. The region with the highest occupancy probability also record the greatest number of anthropogenic motility. You can see in this map. Then this plate shows anthropogenic motility recorded during the study period. Thermoregulation. A strong positive correlation was there was a strong positive correlation between body surface temperature and ambient temperature. This correlation is important for their metabolism, locomotion, and reproduction. And as well as there was a strong positive correlation between branch circumference and snout to end length. Therefore, they selected branches based on their body size. Temporal pattern of behavioral activities. A significant difference was found in the behavior frequency, as well as ambush behavior was observed during the most time period. Then ambush behavior. Second plate, resting behavior. Behavior-specific substrate utilization. Trees were the most frequently utilized substrate for ambush, basking, and resting behaviors. Then ambush in trees. Second one, basking on the fallen branch. Analysis of morphometric characteristic. Maturity stage was categorized into adults, subadults, and juveniles. Maturity stage distribution of P. trigonocephalus. Most individuals were male, which can be attributed to their polygynous mating system. First one adults, second image subadults, and third image juveniles. Phylogenetic analysis based on phylogenetic tree. First one ND4 GNA sequence, 16 RNA gene sequences, and concatenated data set. It can be concluded this species delimitation method confirm P. trigonocephalus as a single operation taxonomic unit with no evidence of genetic isolation among climatic zones. According to haplotype network, a high level of gene flow was observed among population. Therefore, they maintain genetic connectivity among population. Genetic diversity statistic. The highest diversity was recorded in the wet zone, confirming this region as a hotspot for genetic diversity. Description of gene flow. the low GST value and higher gamma ST value. According to these values, they are not genetically isolated. Then color pattern. Based on generalized linear model, dorsal ground color, dorsal pattern color was significantly affected by environmental factors such as precipitation, elevation, and temperature, but dorsal pattern shape was not affected by environmental factors. All individuals can be categorized into these 6 type shapes. Then head color patterns. Head color patterns are unique to each individual, much like a fingerprint. Therefore, head color patterns were used to identify individuals. Then conclusion, habitat suitability and conservation. Temperature, precipitation, and elevation are major factors affecting habitat suitability. Therefore, we should conserve riparian zone with favorable conditions for their survival. Then future habitat suitability. Climate change poses a serious threat to pre-trigonal cephalus with increasing temperatures. Genetic structure and phylogeographic finding. The phylogeographic analysis show minimal genetic differentiation observed among population. Therefore, gene flow plays a critical role in maintaining genetic connectivity among population. Then genetic diversity. Wet zone was identified as a hotspot for genetic diversity. Therefore, it is important for conservation and preservation of wet zone. Environmental influences of coloration. Both dorsal count color and dorsal pattern color variation were significantly influenced by environmental variables. This highlights the adaptive role of coloration in response to habitat-specific environmental conditions. Then have management implication. The wet zone forest should be conserved through habitat protection and prevention of fragmentation. And the lower diversity was recorded dry zone. Therefore, we must protect these areas to maintain population connectivity and prevent further genetic erosion. Finally, by addressing these management implications, conservation effort for P. trigonocephalus can be more effective, confirming the long-term survival. Then these are my references, my publications. Acknowledgement. I would like to express my gratitude to the University of Sri Lankan, Department of Wildlife Conservation, Forest Department, and Save the Snake Grant and Wildlife Circle. Thank you.
Fantastic presentation by Saranga over there. I'd just like to, if you have any comments, please, or questions, please add them to the chat. After the first 3 presentations, we will open the floor to question and answers. Next up, we have Augustina, who will be presenting from Argentina.
Well, hi everyone, I'm Agustina. I'm from the University of La Plata in Argentina. I hope you're having a great World Snake Day. I'm going to talk about this project that we name Mitigating the Human-Snake Conflict in the Argentinian Pampas that we are developing with Diego Di Pietro from an internship that I'm doing here in the university. The Argentinian Pampas are in the central eastern side of Argentina, and here we can find almost 31 snake species. Just to name a few of them, we can find the green and black snake, the false coral snake, the southern hognose snake, and we can also find only 2 snake species that have venom of medical importance, that are the urutu, Bothrops alternatus, and the Patagonian lancehead, Bothrops ammoytoides, which have a necrotizing and hemolytic venom. However, it's a very common belief that all the snake species that we find in this region are dangerous to humans, so many people kill them, unfortunately. And in the last few years, this conflict has have been more frequent than usual. We can also find here some vulnerable species such as the serrana snake, the Leophis elegantissimus, which is a microendemism of the Ventana Mountains. This is a semi-aquatic snake that lives in well-preserved grasslands near water bodies. And it's important for us to talk about this because microendemisms are very rare in snakes. And if we add the human-snake conflict to the other conflict that these species are facing, this can lead to critical danger and also to the extinction of the human-snake conflict occurs when the encounter ends negatively for one of the parts, which unfortunately it's very common to end with the death of many snakes. In this project, we work in 4 specific locations of the Pampas region that are Tigre, Berizo, Sierra de Ventana, and Tandil, Ventanas Mountain, and Tandil. Because of the high encounters that end in the negative way to people and to snakes due to the high population and tourism that have been increasing in the last years. The Pampas region, as you can see in this map, covers several provinces, so we hope to be able to expand this project in the near future to cover larger areas that are affected by this conflict. The main objective of this project is to promote respect and conservation of the snake species that inhabit this region. And that's why we are developing talks, workshops, and training to promote a pacific coexistence within snakes and people. And also we are conducting surveys to collect data of the people's perception and knowledge. But why perception and knowledge? Well, perception is what people feel, believe, and know about the environment, and knowledge is the familiarity or understanding of something or someone, and they will determine our way to relate to the environment and those who inhabit it. In these days where the sensationalist news are becoming more frequent, and in addition to fragmented landscape, road killings, and disinformation, it is necessary and urgent to understand social dynamics in order to really make truly effective changes in people perceptions. We do know that poison isn't equal danger, but it's a very common belief in the social unconsciousness fueled by ignorance and stigma, which leads to the persecution, intentional killing, and a population decline of snakes all over the world, not only in Argentina. Just to name a few experiences, we carry out some workshops to general public in the natural reserve of San Vicente and at our university for biology students. In these workshops, we talk about the snake species that we find in this region, how to identify them, and how to act if we find the one in the nature, and where to go if we have an accident with some of them. But conservation must be carried out by little ones as well. So we visit the San Isidro Delta School and participate at the local festival, where we carry out some educational activities and games to learn about the snakes, to talk about myths and truths related to them, and to have a high impact and improve learning. To close, I would like to bring some preliminary results of the surveys that we have been carrying out since this is a first approximation. These surveys are separate in 3 sections. The first one is personal data, the second one is perception, and the third one is knowledge. almost 200 people respond to these surveys, and we thought that it would be interesting to talk about some of these questions and responses. The first one is how they feel if they encounter any species of snakes in nature or in any space. And the 42% of the people respond that they feel respect, the 30% feel interest, and the 27% feel fear. They are afraid of snakes. The responses about the source of information were very equal, since we have almost 30% from school or university, from television, or from internet and social networks. But some interesting point of the survey is that in the knowledge section, one question is to recognize almost one of three photos that we gave them of three species that we can find here, two not venomous snakes and one of the Urutobodrops alternatus, which is a venomous snake. And the interesting responses in this are that 23% of the people can recognize almost one of them, but 76 of the people can't recognize any of these species. Something that caught our attention is that many people respond that they would use a tourniquet in case of a bite, which shows that it's very important and still necessary to reinforce information about public health and first aid of bites. Hopefully, a very few people respond that they will kill a snake if they encounter one, but a priori, these surveys demonstrate that even if we have access to information, it is very important and crucial to recognize our native animals in order to protect them. There is still a lot of work to be done, but we are very happy to have this opportunity to lead this project, to talk about the snakes in general, but to snakes in specifically of our country. We are very grateful and thankful for you all to watch and hearing, and to Save Snakes for the space, and to all the people that are committed with snake conservation. Thank you all. Have a great World Snake Day. And well, we are here to any question you have. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much, Augustina. Next up, or as always, please do add your questions and comments in the chat. And next up, we will have Emily presenting from the United States.
Hi, everyone. My name is Emily Martin, and I am a PhD student at the University of Idaho, studying rattlesnake-human conflict in the central United States here in Wyoming. I'm really excited to chat a little bit about mitigation translocation, as well as some of the pitfalls of coexisting with venomous snakes. Human-wildlife conflict predates written language, and although we no longer have to contend with prehistoric bison, like the unfortunate man in this pictograph, Americans spend more than $22 billion every year mitigating conflict. From road traffic collisions to crop damage, these ongoing conflicts erode public perception of conservation and put animals at risk of extinction. The prairie rattlesnake, one of Wyoming's 2 native rattlesnakes, is the proverbial poster child for this type of conflict. This North American pit viper is known for its flashy defensive displays, its rattle, and of course its venom. However, the realized risk of death from a rattlesnake bite is extremely low in the United States. So of the 2,000 to 3,000 people bitten by venomous snakes each year in the US, about 1 to 2 of those people die on average. So you're about as likely to be killed by a falling coconut and about 10 times more likely to be struck by lightning than you are to be killed by a venomous snake in the US. Despite this, people can be extremely fearful of rattlesnakes. Now, this is partially innate. We are born with an instinctive fear of snakes, but rampant misunderstandings about the behavior, ecology, and motives of rattlesnakes make people generally extremely intolerant of sharing space with these animals. And it's that fear primarily that drives high rates of conflict between humans and rattlesnakes. Historically, this fear has supported lethal removal and coordinated extirpation efforts enacted under the guise of public safety. Private and public bounties on rattlesnakes are still widespread. In 2016, this roundup in Sweetwater, Texas, collected, displayed, and killed more than 1,000 rattlesnakes during their annual festival. But rattlesnakes are valuable members of our ecosystems. Rattlesnakes are a critical food source for migrating raptors and mesocarnivores in otherwise depauperate landscapes. In addition, they exert top-down predation pressure on rodent populations, which supports native plant communities and eliminates disease reservoirs. And rattlesnakes are sensitive to disturbance. Lethal management produces population-level effects that could be a death sentence to sensitive species. Now, despite these benefits, the public may not always tolerate rattlesnakes in multiple-use areas, such as campgrounds and hiking trails. They may chase or harass rattlesnakes, which in turn increases their risk of being bitten. In these situations, it's not always practical or safe to leave nuisance rattlesnakes in place. Mitigation translocation is commonly used to address this problem. The rattlesnake is removed, transported to a less populated area, and then released in a location with a lower risk of conflict. When it's done well, mitigation translocation has far-reaching positive effects. Not only does it save that individual animal, but it can also increase gene flow, augment struggling populations, and even help us establish new populations. For rattlesnakes, well-implemented mitigation translocation programs could be particularly valuable in terms of dealing with conflict. So these snakes are low-energy specialists, and they have a really limited capacity for dispersal. So this makes them susceptible to genetic isolation or bottlenecking that can occur in fragmented landscapes. But the outcomes of rattlesnake translocation programs are decidedly mixed. So when rattlesnakes are translocated within their home range, they often have high survival. Unfortunately, these animals also navigate their environment with a high level of proficiency. And so they often return to their capture location. This can be totally fine if the snake is not detected or the primary issue is that someone was fearful, but it can result in multiple translocation attempts and resource expenditure if the area is simply not hospitable to rattlesnakes. Conversely, when rattlesnakes are translocated outside of their natural home range, they often suffer high mortality and altered movement behavior. Translocated snakes may move more frequently, and they may travel further than non-translocated snakes. We're conducting research at a state park here in Wyoming that has been doing rattlesnake translocation for just over 5 years. We have 2 objectives here. So firstly, we're assessing the outcomes of translocation in the park. Secondly, we're assessing the mechanisms that underlie these outcomes so that we can create a generalizable framework that can be used to evaluate other translocation programs. Sinks Canyon State Park is a beautiful park. It has a sprawling south-facing slope, granitic rock formations, and of course, lots of prairie rattlesnakes. It's located in sort of south-central Wyoming in the central United States. And it's quite a destination for rock climbers, hikers, mountain bikers, all throughout the active season, which is from April to mid-October in this location. Rattlesnake conflict is highest in 3 areas of the park: Sawmill Campground, the Sinks to Rise Trail, which is a paved walking trail, and the Visitor Center Complex. Rattlesnakes found in these areas by guests or park staff are collected and driven to the border of the park for release. Here's a look at that release area. So it's characterized by low sagebrush, woody vegetation, and rocky debris. The area is about 10 to 20 meters from the road, and it acts as this sort of central release location for nuisance rattlesnakes. Last year, we fitted 5 translocated rattlesnakes with implanted VHF transmitters. 1 came from the major roadway that bisects the park. 3 were collected from the Sinks to Rise Trail, and 1 was collected from the Papoja campground, which is a little bit on the sort of the far end of the park. Now, that last snake was the only one to be implicated in a bite incident, and a dog was struck but not envenomated. So translocation distance varied, but all of these translocations occurred outside the animal's presumed home range. So these are long distance translocations. Now, of these translocated snakes, we had 1 confirmed road mortality, as well as 2 failed transmitters. And then we had 2 snakes, a non-gravid female and an adult male, that successfully overwintered. Now, the snakes for which we lost their transmitters, they both had significant weight loss. 1 adult male lost 140 grams, and then the other, also an adult male, lost about 34 grams. This ranges from about 10% to about 33% of their body weight. So this is quite a significant weight loss for these animals. Now, before we dive into the rest of the results, I just want to go into our study design just a little bit. So we had a small sample size. We needed to be a little creative about accounting for the effects of age, size, sex, and capture location on movement behavior. The way we elected to do this was by conducting paired transmitter deployments. So when we translocated a rattlesnake from an area of conflict, we searched the surrounding landscape and collected an animal with similar characteristics. So if we had a large adult male, we would look for another large adult male. The nuisance rattlesnake was then translocated, and then the other animal was released at its capture site. So this gave us more of an apples to apples comparison with some of our movement metrics. You will also see some comparisons, again, of that movement data in the upcoming slides. And I just want to be clear that these data are always verified to the longest period of time that all animals in that comparison were active. Now, whoops. The exception, of course, is this figure. So this just gives you an idea of what the non-translocated and the translocated snakes were up to. It's a little bit misleading because the translocated snakes here, we had more longer deployments on a lot of those transmitters than we did for our translocated snakes. But it's a cool bird's eye view of what these snakes were doing during the active season. And now here we are looking at this is 2 pairs of our matching snakes. So the 2 on the left are male, and the 2 on the right are female. So this metrics, this is looking at total distance moved by each snake during the same time period. And you can see that this is sort of reinforcing what a lot of the literature suggests. These snakes were moving a lot following our translocation compared with non-translocated snakes. Translocated are about a month and then about a month post. And you can see just that huge increase in both movement metrics, just moved, and then, which is really interesting. So just to kind of summarize these results a little further. So last year, our first year on the project, we saw increased mortality, we saw increased total distance moved, we saw larger activity range sizes for translocated snakes, about 3 times the normal activity range size. We saw a decrease in body condition, and then that non-gravid female that did survive over winter, she's reproducing this year, so she is gravid, but she has fewer follicles than we would anticipate based on solely her body length compared with other hidden snakes. So all of this reinforces that in this area of protocol, translocation is really, really costly for these animals, not just from a survival outcome, but also looking at their movement behavior and sort of their prolonged fitness outcomes. We know the program are, it's time to get to work. So why are these animals not doing well, and what small manageable changes can the first staff make that better balances the snake's well-being with guests' enjoyment of the park? So we've generated a list of non-mutually exclusive hypotheses to explain why we may see decreased survival in translocated rattlesnakes. The first and maybe the most obvious has to do with that increased movement behavior. So searching may make translocated rattlesnakes more detectable to predators, more detectable to humans, and more susceptible to mortality as a result. Another alternative is that competition from resident snakes may exclude translocated rattlesnakes from necessary resources, things like overwintering locations, good foraging areas, mates, things like that. The other side of that coin is that we know rattlesnakes use conspecific trailing to locate resources. If a rattlesnake is translocated into an area without conspecifics, it may be limited in its ability to locate those resources on its own. Yet another alternative is that translocated snakes, for another reason, are not able to find or acquire sufficient food in an efficient way. So unrelated to competitive exclusion or conspecific trailing, they're just not effective at finding the resources they need. Another alternative is that if we release these animals into an area that simply doesn't have the resources needed to support a rattlesnake population, there's really no winning in that situation. And then lastly, there may be some stress accumulation. Translocation is stressful for these animals, and that certainly can predispose animals to sort of all-cause mortality. This year, we plan to manipulate translocation distance, and this will let us test predictions generated from each of these hypotheses so that we can make suggestions that address the root cause of poor translocation outcomes in sinks and areas like sinks. To this end, we're going to be placing 30 to 40 additional transmitters. And again, this will help us just construct a generalizable framework that helps us evaluate translocation programs in general. And with that, I'd like to thank Save the Snakes, the University of Idaho, the Museum of Southwestern Biology, NSF, and all of our other funders and collaborators, including Sinks Canyon State Park, Joe Ricketts, Jackson Fork Ranch, Wyoming Game and Fish, the Idaho chapter of the Wildlife Society, and my lab here at the University of Idaho.
Great. Thank you so much, Emily. Now I'd love to ask our three speakers to unmute themselves, even put your video on if you'd like. And if there's anything that was not mentioned in the video, please feel free to mention. And we haven't had any questions, but if there are any questions for our speakers, please do send them through. Emily, I do have one question for you. Seeing as translocation it's such a popular topic now, especially in terms of mitigating human-snake conflict. Excuse me. So what would be your advice if you had to give people advice when it comes to translocation?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that. So the biggest thing, at least in this area, is to minimize the distance that we're translocating snakes. So our big problem is not that the snakes can't be in the area. Most of the time, it's that a visitor has located a snake and is frightened by that animal. But these animals are super cryptic, so they have a lot of good camouflage. Usually they're not detected. And so it's not really an issue that, hey, snakes can't be here. The big problem is this animal in particular has been detected by a guest. So in the park, one of the things that we're likely to recommend at the conclusion of the study is that we keep translocations as much as possible within the snake's natural home range.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank
Is
you.
there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think this is a cool project because we're really getting to the the root of, we have a lot of these translocations that occur in the US every year. We translocate thousands and thousands of rattlesnakes. And so we're really hopeful that our project will give us a framework to evaluate those programs on the back end. So what happens to these animals after we translocate them instead of just kind of crossing our fingers. So it's pretty exciting.
Fantastic. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much.
Augustina, I love the idea of measuring the perception that people have of snakes. I think we get to learn so much about different communities, especially in different parts of the world. So what's next for your project?
Hi, how are you? Well, thank you. The surveys were very good in the people that respond. We have answers that we don't expect it, and in the next steps, we are going to make them in Tandil and Ventana Mountains, that are the another locations that we have for the project. And we hope to expand all the surveys and the talks and workshops to more people. And that's
Fantastic. Please do send us updates. We love hearing about not only the value that the Save the Snakes grant has provided for you, but how your projects are evolving in the future as well. So thank you. And Thuranga, I want to ask you a question about how you think educating people about your project can be useful. Do you have plans to do any community projects? Yeah, I'd love to hear more. Okay, maybe we've lost. Thuranga, you should be able to switch on your microphone. Not sure why. Okay, well, Thuranga has added her comments in the chat. She is hoping to do some awareness projects in the future. Thuranga, if you do manage to switch on your audio, then please do. We have a question here for Emily from Myrte, one of our other project partners. And the question is, what were the short and long distances used for the translocations? Do you have advice up to which distance we can relocate snakes to increase chances of survival?
Hi, that's a super good question. So what we did is we used the snake's natural movements of non-translocated snakes to calculate a home range. We found that in our study area in particular, there's a lot of good resources. There are a lot of good thermal qualities to the landscape. So we try to keep translocations under about 400 meters or so in this area. In areas without movement data, the shorter the distance, the better. So often in our situation, we can move snakes, 10 or 15 meters off into the brush, and we'll never have another altercation with them again. So shorter is always better, at least for rattlesnakes.
Great, thank you so much. We have a question. This is for all the speakers. While conducting your research, did members of the public engage with you while you were in the field? Did you have positive responses after you explained what you were doing? Please elaborate. I don't know who wants to go first.
I can start if you'd like.
Thanks.
So I do my research in a state park that's really, really popular. So people see me up on the hillside with a bucket and a pair of snake tongs, and they get really excited. I was surprised that in our area, at least interacting with the public, people are typically pretty positive. They're there to see nature. They're interested in the project. They're really interested in the snakes. And so I do a lot of public engagement. I do a lot of talks at the park, and just generally spreading updated information on rattlesnakes so people can kind of, they want to address their fears, right? They don't want to be out on the landscape frightened of these animals. So I found it to be a really positive experience engaging with those folks.
Thank you.
Hi, we have a very positive responses too. A lot of people at first talk about their fear about the snakes while we were talking, but once we begin to talk about how they act and they get to know them, the species, and how to act when they found one or when a snake enter in a house, for example, they were very different responses, a change in perception about from knowledge, and we think that's very important to the conservation.
Thank you, Augustina. Saranga, I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself. But we do have a question for you, Augustina. What do you find is the most effective way to share information with the public in your work? Do you mostly communicate face-to-face, or do you distribute information in other ways?
Thank you for the question. Sorry, I don't speak English very well, but I'm going to try to explain myself. We do the communicate in face-to-face and with social media as well, and surely face-to-face is have more positive effect because we can have a more active talk with the people, but the spread of information in the social media have an impact as well. But face-to-face is the better way.
Fantastic, thank you. Yeah, I think that makes sense. A lot of the times, that face-to-face interaction can make such a great difference. Saranga shared in the comments that her experiences have been very positive. People are always happy to help find pit vipers and help in searching for them. So a big round of applause for our first three speakers. Thank you so much for sharing your conservation story, your research story, and we are so grateful that we can share your projects and your stories with the audience today on World Snake Day. Please feel free to stick around while we go through the other presentations, and keep up the amazing work that you guys are doing. Okay, so next up, we have Warawitu from Thailand.
เคสวัสดีค่ะ
Thank you for joining us today.
I cannot share screen.
No problem. I'll be sharing your recording.
Oh, okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am Assistant Professor Dr. Waravitu Misu, an instructor from the Faculty of Science and Technology at Rajamankala University of Technology Sriwijaya, located in Nakhon Si Thammarat Province, Thailand. I am the project leader of an initiative generously supported by the Save the Snake Vijayan D1 Southeast Asian Snake Conservation Grant 2024 under the topic Training Workshop for the Trainers, Enhancing Snake Knowledge and Handling Skills. Thailand faces frequent incidents of snake bites, often leading to serious health risks and even death. Fear of snakes is widespread, causing people to kill them on sight, whether venomous or not. But the fear stems from misunderstanding. Snakes play a crucial role in maintaining ecological balance by controlling prey populations. Indiscriminate killing of snakes can lead to imbalance in ecosystem and negatively impact biodiversity. That's why we launched a project to train local leaders not only in safe snake handling, but also in sharing knowledge, building a network for coexistence, and protecting both people and nature. The more people we train, the more snakes we save. Training workshop for trainers, enhancing snake knowledge and handling skill is one of 4 projects selected for the Save the Snake Vijayan D1 Southeast Asian Snake Conservation Grant Program 2024. This marks the first time a project from Thailand has received support from Save the Snake, an international organization dedicated to snake conservation and human snake conflict mitigation worldwide. It is a significant milestone for Thailand in advancing efforts to protect both people and snakes through our education and community empowerment. Project objective including reduce human-snake conflict, provide practical training, promote collaboration and knowledge sharing, and educator development. Leading this important initiative are Assistant Professor Dr. Waravitu Misu, an instructor from Faculty of Science and Technology of Rajamankala University of Technology Sriwijaya, and Mr. Montri Suwanta, Senior Fisheries Biologist from the Department of Fisheries, Thailand. This collaborative effort supported by Save the Snakes, Faculty of Science and Technology at Rajamankala University of Technology Sriwijaya, Nick Wildlife, The Secret of Lovely Snake YouTube channel, the Betong Animal Lover Club, and Science Snake Man. Process. The call for candidates was open from 17 to 30 April 2025. By 5 May, a total of 30 trainee candidates were selected based on their prior experience in snake handling or participation in previous snake training programs, ensuring they are well prepared to benefit from and contribute to the training program. The theoretical components provide a solid fundamental in snake conservation. Trainees explore topics such as the introduction to snakes, examining common myths versus scientific facts, snake morphology, and their sensory system. They also study Thailand major venomous snakes and protected species under national law, and proper first aid procedure for snake bite victims. In the practical section, participants learn how to safely catch and handling snakes of different sizes using appropriate tools and techniques. The training emphasized safety, animal welfare, and the ecological importance of snakes. Following the completing of both theoretical and practical training sections, trainees engaged in supervised teaching activities. They were tasked with deliver in instructional content derived from the theoretical components covered earlier in program. Instructor observe this section, provide constructive feedback, and formally assess each trainee's teaching effectiveness, communication skills, and accuracy of content. Trainees then had the opportunity to apply and share their newly acquired knowledge by conducting educational sections for students at Betong Industrial and Community Education College. These sessions allow trainees to practice their teaching and communication skills while raising awareness amongst young people about snake conservation. The first aid for snake bite victims. This activity also helps strengthen the trainee confidence and reinforce their role as future community-based trainers. During the training period, actual snake encounters were reported in the area. Our trainees respond promptly, applying what they have learned to safely relocate the snakes and educate residents on how to live alongside them peacefully. Output: workshop implementation. The training workshop for trainers enhancing snake knowledge and handling skills project have successfully held from May 27 to 28 at Betong Industrial and Community Education College, Yala Province, Thailand. The program received strong public interest, with many applicants showing great enthusiasm. After a careful selection process, 30 qualified trainees were chosen to participate. Training completion. All trainees complete intensive training combining theoretical knowledge and practical skills. They also underwent teaching evaluation, which they successfully passed, demonstrating their understanding of snake biology, safe handling, and community education techniques. Knowledge application and community engagement. Trainees then apply their skills by conducting educational activities for students at Betong Industrial and Community Education College. This real-world teaching experience helps transform trainees into effective communicators and conservation advocates within their own communities. Project media coverage. A Facebook fan page titled สร้างคนสื่องู was created to promote the project, announce the application period, share activity photos, and highlight project outcomes. The project was featured on several online media platforms, including the Sawatho Betong News fan page. The Rajamankala University of Technology Sriwijaya Nakhon Sri Thammarat Sai Campus Facebook fan page. The online newspaper Talk News. The online media platform NBT Connect. The project was also featured on the television program Khao Den Praden Thai, broadcast on NBT Songkla channel on 30 May 2025. A project representative was interviewed on the TV program Rabiang Thai, broadcast on NBT Nakhon Sri Thammarat channel on 10 June 2025. Outcome. After completing the training, our trainees actively apply their skills by assisting with snake relocation in their local communities and education how to coexist with snakes safely. Building on this momentum, our trainees are now stepping into their role as local trainers. On June 24, they conduct their very first independent training section for the civil defense volunteers in Panang Sarek Municipality, Yala Province. Following this, on July 3rd, the newly trained team continued their outreach by leading a practical workshop as part of the 2025 Civil Defense Volunteer Refresher Training organized by Yupo Municipality. These sessions represent real progress in building grassroots capacity to reduce fear, prevent snakebite incidents, and protect both people and snakes. Conclusion. Training local leaders builds long-term capacity. When we train local people, we are not just teaching them skills. We are investing in sustainable future. These leaders become the core of change in their communities, ready to respond, teach, and inspire others. Education reduces fear, increase safety. Fear often comes from misunderstanding. By providing accurate knowledge about snakes and how to safely respond to encounters, we are helping people feel confident rather than afraid, and that directly improve both human and animal safety. Conservation begins with understanding and coexistence. True conservation isn't just about protecting species, it's about changing the way people think. When people understand the role of snakes in ecosystems, they begin to see them not as threats, but as a vital part of nature. Local action creates national impact. Each training, each community we reach, building momentum. These small actions combine to create real change on the larger scale. What starts in one village can ripple out across the country. Acknowledgement. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to Save the Snake, our main supporter, for funding the core budget of this project. Special thanks go to Bedong Industrial and Community Education College for providing a discount meeting room and encouraging student participation. We also deeply appreciate the dedication of our trainer team, Mr. Nirut Chomngam, Dr. Nathasuda Donbandit, PO1 Thanapat
Prateep Nathalang, Ms. Pacharin Pratummek, and our assistant, Mr. Waradet Prakatviwat and Mr. Thanakrit Singh Paisan. The middle column lists local sponsors who support staff, teachers, workshop materials such as snake hooks, loops, containers, and fabric bags, as well as accommodation discount. The right column features local sponsorship partners who provide food, beverage, and snacks. Your generous support made this workshop possible and play a vital role in strengthening community-based snake conservation efforts in Thailand. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Where are we to? What a fantastic presentation and some incredible work happening that you guys are running. Next up, we are going to have our speaker, Beatrice from Bolivia. Unfortunately, Beatrice could not be here today, but if you have any comments or questions, please send them to us, and we would be happy to forward it along to her.
Hi everyone, how are you? Many thanks for being there. Also, I want to thank to the Save the Snakes team for the invitation and for organizing such a nice event dedicated to the snakes. On this very special day, I will offer you an overview of the state of human-snake conflict in Bolivia and what we are doing to try to mitigate it. So I'm going to share my screen now. Wait a moment, please. Okay. Here it is. Yeah. Let me start by telling you a little about Bolivia, its environment, and its snakes, of course. Bolivia is characterized as one of the countries in America with the highest diversity of ecosystems. And this is because of a very special geographical position. The country is located in the southwest part of the Amazon. Amazon is more or less until here, dividing with dry ecosystems with high precipitation seasonality. Also, the Andes are here, more or less, being part of it. You can find very wet areas here. As a consequence, the high diversity of the snakes is reflecting this environmental mosaic too. There are almost 200 species of snakes in Bolivia so far, but there must be more. For example, you can find the very typical Amazonian arboreal species, Bothros tenuatus and Bothros bilineatus here. Also the ones more associated to dry areas, like the rattlesnake. This one, Crotalus durissus, is the only rattlesnake that we have in Bolivia. There is an endemic viper, this one, Bothros santacrucis, or the largest viper in the world, Lachesis muta. Yeah. I show you vipers because they are the group of snakes more relevant and related to human-snake conflict in Bolivia, in America as well. So let's go to the conflict now. And for this, I show you here the total number of bites by year for the last 7 years in Bolivia. And we have 2025 until June, so there is half a year left. As you can see, it seems to be increasing by year. Probably more bites are happening, that's true, but there are other important factors that must be considered here. For example, access to health services, which is better now. And we know that Bolivian people go more to the hospital now than a few years before. And the epidemiological records are improving too. Yeah. On average, there are 1,600 bites per year. It isn't low if you consider that Bolivia has a low density population. We are around 111 million people in a big country. This is the number of the species, but if you check the incidence, the northern part of Bolivia here reaches the highest. And what about the species involved in the bites? Here we have a very important group of them, and not necessarily in this order or importance, but could be. Especially the first 5 species, they are very important in the bites because they are vipers that can be very common relatively locally in some areas. And they are able to live very close to human settlements, having many encounters with people. This one, the largest viper in the world, Lachesis muta, it's more associated to primary forest, but sometimes we register bites too. The bites can be very relevant. Coral snakes, like this one, Micrurus ornamensis, is a very important species. They are involved only in a few bites in Bolivia and in America in general. But a coral bite can be very serious. So let's say that these species of snakes are among the most important in the conflict, in the human-snake conflict in Bolivia. Persecution. Well, we don't have data for the whole country about this topic. That would be very difficult, but we have no doubt persecution is something very intense almost everywhere. In many tropical countries, when people see a snake, they will probably try to kill it. Many times, people don't distinguish between harmless and venomous species. Illegal trade is another important issue in our country. Snakes are not the most trafficked animals in Bolivia, but according to our records, the group of boas, anacondas, and so on, and the rattlesnakes are the most demanded one. The boas are trafficked because of to use them in traditional medicine, and also the skin, as you can see here, is very demanded too. And the rattles, they are demanded for rituals and superstitions. Yeah. So until here, this was very, very briefly a summary of the human-snake conflict in our country. And now I will tell you what we are doing as Bucarara project. Our project is focused on human-snake conflict in Bolivia. We combine research, conservation, and public health to help to the protection of snake populations and human welfare. We develop different strategies and components, but today I would like to tell you a little, to share with you a little about work related to research and education. Yeah. So let's go with research. We study the circumstances around a snake bite. Yeah, I mean, how bites happen, when, and where, to whom, which species are involved, these kind of questions. Yeah, and to do that, we have focused in a real hospital right here. Yeah. We have been registering during more than 1 year all the snakes bites. Yeah. As a summary, In 1 year, we could register 150 bites. The profile of, on average, the profile of our patients was a man between 20 and 39 years old. The bites happen during the day, mostly on food, during different agricultural activities, and the tourniquet was the most common first aid, although it is highly contraindicated. Also, we could register new symptomatology associated to several colubrids. And some of these results are already published, and some of them not yet. Well, as I said, many patients bring the snake with them to the hospital already dead, although we try to teach them not to do that, by the way. Anyway, we are using those samples to carry out a taxonomic study about this viper, Bothros antecrucis, the Bolivian endemic viper. Moreover, this is a very important species for us because it registered the highest number of bites in our study. Yeah, so we are very focused on it. We are studying also several aspects, ecological aspects, as the diet, the composition of venom as well. In the same area of influence of this rural hospital, we are doing field work whenever possible because we study the communities of the snakes here. And for this component, especially has been very important the Save the Snakes grant, but that we received a few years ago because it allows us to reach all the places and to do many workshops with the people as well. So until now, we could register more than 50 species in a relatively small area here. This is a very important area for us because it's an area very important for the human-snake conflict in our country. Yeah, we register many bites, and also the diversity of snakes is really high here. Yeah, we need to study in a deeper way this area. We want to know better the composition of snakes now. This is our next goal. So we will continue with the field work in a few months. Education. Since the beginning of the project, we are organizing different workshops for different target groups, mainly indigenous communities and farmers, health workers, and other workers such as soldiers, firefighters, local environmental authorities too, and sometimes in schools too. The most of the time, we do these activities in the rural area. Yeah, and this is something very important for our project because our main goal is to get to the people who live with the snakes, and those are the ones living and working in the field, right? As a complement to of our educational activities, we design different materials in different languages, in Spanish and also in different indigenous languages spoken in Bolivia, to try to get to more people, and we use them in different activities, as you can see here. Also, the radio is a very important channel for us because in several communities we work with, there is no signal sometimes. So the radio plays a key role here. And during half a year, we have made a weekly radio program about snakes, coexistence, health, sports. It worked very well. I think we should go back to this now. Well, now we are working together through education and research. We are organizing different workshops, and we apply a questionnaire at the beginning and at the end of the activity to try to know, to have a better understanding of the experience, opinions, and perceptions of people about snakes and also to be able to evaluate how effective our activities can be for promoting the coexistence. And something very important here is that all of these activities are carried out in small communities, some of them very isolated and far away from hospitals, because in these places, people really need this kind of information from our side. We need to listen to them to have a better understanding of the conflict. Okay, yeah. Finally, just to thank all the people who made this come true. There are many people involved in somehow in different components or different moments of the project, and several institutions, so many thanks. And to say goodbye, let me say something in my language. Muchas gracias a todas las personas que trabajan por la convivencia con serpientes en América Latina. Many thanks. Ciao, ciao.
What a wonderful presentation by Beatrice. Thank you, Beatrice. Again, I know she couldn't join us today, but if you have any questions about her presentation, please do forward them on to us and we can share them with her. Next up, we have a special presentation from a new partner of ours, and representing them is Heitor, and these new partners are from Brazil. But I will let Heitor just introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Heitor Bissoli, and I am educational leader at the Biological Museum of the Butantan Institute in São Paulo, Brazil. To start and give you a little bit of a context of where I'm speaking from, São Paulo is a mega city located in the southeast Brazil, and the Butantan Institute is located in the western part of the city. In this drone image, you can see part of our campus. Within the complex, we also have this large green public park, and it's composed by 4 museums, a scientific library, research laboratories, and also immunobiological production facilities for serums and vaccines. One of these museums is where I work, the Biological Museum. This is a unique place, a century-old institution that brings together scientific research, vaccine, antivenom production, and public science education. We are part of the State of São Paulo Health Department, and we are playing a crucial role in Brazil's universal public health care system, known as SUS, which provides free healthcare services to all citizens and all people in the Brazilian territory. We are also the only Brazilian institution that produces and distributes snake antivenoms freely throughout the SUS. But talking more specifically about my role within this vast institution, the Biological Museum doesn't have an historical artifact. Instead, we care for over 350 living animals, most of them snakes, but we also work with amphibian conservation and several species of lizards. Part of this collection is displayed as a zoo, with almost 19 specimens in exhibition for the population. Right now, you're probably asking yourself, why care out so many individuals? The museum was born out of the Living Collections scientific collection that supported the production of the antivenoms. But to explain why snakes, vaccines, and public health are so deeply connected, we need to go back in time. The Butantan Institute was originally created in the early 90s under the name Instituto Serum Terápico de São Paulo in response to a major public health crisis, the bubonic plague. A doctor named Vital Brasil was invited to lead the effort. He successfully developed the anti-serum against the plague and turned his attention to something else threatening the Brazilian population, the snake bites. Inspired by the European research on cobra venom, Dr. Brazil began studying Brazilian snakes. And at the time, the rapidly growing city of São Paulo was expanding into natural areas, increasing the number of snake encounters and accidents. Dr. Brazil made a groundbreaking discovery: venom specificity. Different genera of snakes require distinct antivenoms. This discovery, made out in 1901, changed the global approach to threatening snake bites. But in order to produce these antivenoms, he needed a large quantities of venom, and that meant capturing snakes. So he created actually a clever system. The institute provided wooden boxes and a snake catching tool known as lasso de luz to rural communities. And through an agreement with the São Paulo railway system, citizens were able to send captured snakes to Butantan. In exchange, the institute sent antivenom kits for those who firstly captured the snakes. This initiative led to a growth of both scientific and living collection, enabled venom extraction and research, and helped establish Brazil as a leader in toxinology. And it laid the groundwork for something else just as essential: the public health education. Vitor Brazil understood that scientific discovery alone would not be enough to reduce the public health burden of snake bites. He saw the need for a broad public education and social engagement. So he created, for example, live public demonstration of venom extraction, a striking, effective way to teach both fear and fascination. He also organized training courses for professionals and citizens who wanted to learn how to identify snakes, avoid accidents, and understood their ecological roles. In 1914, he published Defense Against Snakebite, a comprehensive book that combined practical medical guidelines with a visionary educational approach. This marked the start of a long tradition of public engagement that continues to this day. The snake donation system also reflects a unique socio-ecological dynamic. Rural families who participated in the exchange, sending snakes in return for serum, and also participation on a symbolic compensation and connection to scientific institution, played an active role in building Brazil's scientific legacy. What we now recognize as an early citizen science helped shape country's most comprehensive venom and snake data repositories. Over the decades, these donations, along with seizures of trafficked animals and interinstitutional transfers, expanded the living collection. The Butantan Institute became a hub not only for the research and help, but also for the symbolic relationship between people and snakes in Brazil. This is the lineage of what we now call biological, and it still echoes today. Many visitors, especially old generations, tell stories about their relatives who once sent snakes to the Butantan. The legacy lives on not just the antivenoms, but in the memory, in culture, and in the public perception. Back then, public health concerns were about rural areas and occupational risks. Today, the context has shifted dramatically. São Paulo is now a mega city with over 12 million people in the city proper and around 23 million people in the metropolitan area. Most of our visitors come from highly urbanized settings. Many have never seen a snake in nature or any other animal, only on screens. Still, there is a lingering from memory. Many people remember family members that would send snakes to the Butantan through the system. They see the institute as a place of legacy and trust, but their motivations to go to the institute are a little bit different. Visitors come out of curiosity and trying to face fear. And that curiosity opens up new pathways. As fewer people encounter snakes in their daily life in São Paulo, the Biological Museum becomes one of the only spaces that medical, safe, informed encounters with snakes are possible. That's why our work with living animals and direct engagement is essential to the modern ecosystem. And our conservation work today extends far beyond preventing snake bites, which is still important in some areas of Brazil. But our actions are a little bit more broader. We maintain genetic and behaviorally diverse animal populations that supports research in reproductive biology, feeding behavior, clinical medicine, and captivity management. We study animal welfare and create tailored enrichment routines. Our enclosures are built with natural substrate vegetation, water sources, and climate control, promoting not only physical health and immunization, but also a naturalistic behavior. We also support the reproduction and the maintenance of endangered species, and also species that are not currently endangered, but may become so due to the habitat destruction and the habitat loss. And we act as a repository of knowledge hub for snake biology. At this moment, we are now initiating a new line of research focused on our visitors. So how do people relate to snakes during their museum visits? How does the communication affect their attitudes, fears, and knowledge? At the same time, we continue to train people who encounter snakes. For example, firefighters, police officers, environmental agents, biology students, hikers, bird watchers, anyone who may come into contact with snakes. We also participate in community-based education in rural areas, publish educational materials, and attend to public outreach events. And we do all this in collaboration as part of ex situ conservation network with other institutions and other zoological academic institutions. We also do online actions throughout our social medias, trying to also get broader our actions, not only for Brazil, but for other countries. And within these whole actions, communication for the conservation is our most powerful tool. And for communication of conservation, our framework is trying to give people the notion of One Health. As part of an institution that works with public health, it's a very important way to look at nature's relationship and humans' conflict with nature, to look at the One Health concept. So the One Health concept brings us closer to nature when we understand that our actions impact directly the environment, and that the environment impacts directly our health and the health of the ecosystem. So we are deeply connected, and we need to rebuild this connection throughout our communication. Perhaps our most important task is not just caring for snakes, but changing the way that people think about them. Snakes are often associated with fear, danger, or disgust, but these ideas are shaped by culture, not facts. And we believe that fascination is a more powerful conservation tool. In our exhibits, we invite people to appreciate snakes, their diversity, their colors, their adaptations. In some programs, we even allow safe hands-on contact with selected animals under supervision. These hands-on activity moments break down barriers of fear and open the door for animals. We design activities that involve art, storytelling, and playful ways, especially for children. We promote slow appreciation of natural world. And we not talk only about snakes, but about their ecosystem, about how they are connected to the human life and other animals and plants. how they are important for the ecosystem, and how they are endangered in some points by our actions, and what we can do to protect them. We also talk about our programs of conservation and bring some hope to people, because actually people don't like to receive bad news. They need some hope. So our speech is also needs to bring hope, to catch people, and to bring us together to fight for state conservation. This kind of education is not about giving people rules. It's about giving them a new relationship. Last year, nearly 1 million people visited the biological museum. In this month of the year, around 10,000 people are passing through our doors every week. Each one of those visits is a chance to change someone's mind or plant a seed of wonder. This is the heart of our contribution to residual conservation. Not only preserving animals, but creating a cultural environment where they are valued. This work opened doors for new collaborations, new research, and most importantly, new alliances between people and nature. So I want to thank Jairo and Michael and the entire team of Save the Snakes for giving us the opportunity to share our history. And I hope one day you all come to visit São Paulo and see it all in person. Happy Snake Day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Fantastic presentation from all our speakers. I'd like to now ask you to unmute yourself, switch on your videos. If there's anything you'd like to share from that you didn't mention in your video, please feel free to do so. I realize that our viewers cannot ask questions, but if you do have a question for any of our speakers, I think Emily has just left, but our other speakers are available. So if you have a question, please do raise your hands, and you can ask your questions. But for our speakers in this slot, I will ask you a question that we asked one of our previous speakers. So while conducting your research, did members of the public engage with you while you were in the field? And did you have positive responses after you explained what you were doing? Feel free to go ahead and answer. Heitor, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, I can start. Thank you, Jairo, and thank you, Save the Snakes, for the opportunity. It's very happy to be here. And yeah, I think when we talk about our work in the Biological Museum here, we are very well received by the public, and actually people also want to know about how they are related to the nature and how these actions impact them. So this line of research we are studying right now for public engagement and research itself is something that people really engage, that people really participate. So they are very collaborative in this way. And when we talk about conservation, our conservation programs with the species itself, not only with snakes, but also with amphibians, people are very well received as well. They talk about their hope, about some people that are doing a great work facing our chaos, environmental chaos, and the bad news that we see every day. So one thing that I said in the talk, it's that people don't like to receive bad news, and this is a huge statement for the communication of conservation. So when we bring these facts about the extinctions, about the environmental change, the climate change, and people get to know these problems, they actually want to do something. They want to participate in actions. So our communication, part of our communication is also to talk for people that we can act globally, locally, and everyone has something that can do to contribute in this fight. So I think this is our feedbacks of the impacts. And yeah, I don't know if you want to ask something, if I answered your question.
Yes, I think it's fantastic. I think it's so wonderful to hear that people want to make a difference, and I think many of us, especially when we work with snakes, it can be so challenging because we work with a species that we're always so often getting such negative feedback. So it's really great to hear that people want to make a change and want to contribute. And I think it's a testament to the work that you guys are doing, and will continue to do. So yeah, absolutely looking forward to doing some fantastic work together in the future. Warawitu, I don't know if you want to answer the question, if you're still around.
Hi.
Should I repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Sure. Okay, so the question was, while conducting your research, did members of the public engage with you in the field? And did you have positive responses after you explained what you were doing?
Why I conduct this project, right?
Yes.
And okay. It's because people in Thailand, there are many conflict. People snake conflict a lot. They kill both venomous and non-venomous snakes, and there are groups of people try to educate. They have Facebook, and it's still the same. People still post the dead snake and incident of snake encounter, and they kill and they ask, what kind of snake is this? Mostly non-venomous snakes. That's why we want to train the rescuer to help relocating the snakes. And this project, we do this before. We do it every year in the same area, the Yala province. We teach the theoretical section and practical section to handling snake, how to handling it safely. But this time, from Save the Snake, we teach them to from trainees to be a trainer. We give them evaluation of teaching and let them teach students. Then they turn and they can conduct their own separation training 2 times until now.
Fantastic. And when people learn about your project, do they have positive engagement?
Yes, of course. We select the participant. Sorry, we select the participant which have positive attitude to snakes. Some of them are soldiers who can encounter snake in the field, in the area. Some of them are rescuer who can touch, can not afraid of snake, so it's easier to level up them to encourage them.
Of course. And what about experience with the general public?
Sorry, again, please.
What are your experiences like with the general public when you talk to them about your project and your work? Is it positive? Do they still want to kill snakes?
I don't get it. Sorry.
The people outside of your project, when they learn about your project, do they still want to kill snakes?
Outside the project, we try to let them easier to call for help, because our technique can relocate it and educate what kind of snake encounter in your house. Is it venomous or non-venomous? Can you live with them? Something like that.
So what you're saying is the training that you have provided is being very effective. So I'd just like to say, fantastic. It's so great to see that you're doing such an incredible job, and to see that, there's a positive outcome at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to our speakers in this round. I think we'll move on to the next session. A big round of applause to our speakers. Thank you so much.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you, Save the Snakes, and hope we see each other soon for collaboration. And also, we are open for collaborations. If you want to get in contact, I'm free to talk and to discuss new strategies around the globe. Thank you.
I'd actually like to ask our presenters, if you want to share your details in the comments, please do so. It would be helpful for our viewers to just get in touch with you if they wanted to. Okay, so next up we have David Vera from Argentina.
Hello, everyone. My name is David Vera. I'm a PhD in natural science. I am an herpetologist and conservation biologist from Argentina. And I'm going to talk about the spatial ecology of the Urutu, Bothrops alternatus, towards a strategy to mitigate human conflict in the Tandiria Mountains. Well, in the Tandiria Mountains, there are two species of pit vipers. They are Bothrops amoditoides and Bothrops alternatus. And they have some difference in their size. Bothrops alternatus is more large than Bothrops amoditoides, and also it's more abundant. And so, Bothrops alternatus is one of the most venomous snakes in Argentina and the most abundant Tandiria mountains. So, the snake-human conflict is more frequent to see in that snake, in Bothrops alternatus. The females reach up to 1.5 meters, and they usually go to the houses of the people and live in proximity to human settlements. So these features increases the human conflict, or the probability to have human conflict. And the people kill the snakes because they fear to the venomous snake, and I think that all snakes are venomous. So my main objective in the project is to reduce the conflict between people and the Urutu pit viper, while promoting the broader conservation of reptile species in the Tandira Mountains. The specific objectives are establish the daily activity and movement patterns, determine the home range and habitat use of the Urutu pit viper, and identify red areas where human snake encounters are most common. What I mean with red areas is the zones where human and a snake can encounter with more probabilities, and identify the best sites for the release of rescued individuals by competent authorities. So the study area is within the Tandila Mountains, specifically Tandil City. We see in the map the circle that points Tandil City. The Tandil City is located in the Buenos Aires province, in the center east of Argentina. So, for the first objective, I propose to establish the daily activity movement patterns, and the objective 2 is the home range and habitat use. So, for these objectives, I captured several individuals, 6 specifically, from wildlife, and I translate to animal hospital and work with veterinaries to do the radio transmitter implantation. After the implantation, we translate again to the wildlife. We release the snakes and then monitor about 7 days for each month, and in the period from spring 2024, September, and the summer, autumn from 2025. We monitor the snakes in the wildlife at the evening and morning, and we took the position and the date of the snake, and also we took a microhabitat photo that we will use then to estimate the home range and activity core area, and to obtain the habitat use of the species. So I forgot to mention that all the 6 individuals were female. So I estimate the mean home range to the Urutu pit viper species, and it's approximately to 3.30 hectares, and we can see the mean home range in the map. Are the areas, the green areas, dark green areas, and we can see also the mean core area, that are the light green areas, and the white points belongs to one individual, and the turquoise points belongs to another individual, and the areas belongs to the mean home range and the mean core area. So these are examples only, and I obtained the home range of the four remaining individuals. So finally, I estimate the mean total distance, and the Urdu pit viper travels about 0.9 kilometers, and so in this pattern we can see the dots concentrated in a small area, and other subset of dots in other area, and so they shape like a separating home range. So in the field, we saw that the snakes stay in one place about 10 days, 15 days, and then the snakes move through all the reserve and to a specific point, and then stay again in that point for other 10 or 15 days. And after that period, they move again to other brutal site, and then again and again. Well, for the objective 3, it is identify red areas where human snake encounters are most common. We are doing surveys with local people. Still, we have to do more surveys, but we are obtaining data about where are the sites where people encounter the snakes, that the big viper, and we are taking in 3 different zones in the Tandil city. In the first is in the houses located in the mountains. There are many people that live in the mountains, so that people is more susceptible to encounter snakes. And the second zone is the base of the mountains and near to the mountains. And the third zone is about of 1 kilometer far from the mountains. So in this way, we hope to obtain the zones where the snakes are most frequently founded by the people. That zones we will identify as red areas, and So the red areas and the home range and habitat use patterns, we will use it together to generate a map of red zone areas that we will use to identify the best sites for the release of rescued animals in the wildlife by competent authorities. And this will be useful to reduce or diminish the snake-human conflict, to prevent the people to go to the red areas, to the zones that bull to pit viper frequently used in the wildlife. So thank you very much and happy World Snake Day. I want to thank IdeaWise, Save the Snakes, the Tropical Gas and Conservancy, the NGOs that funded the project, and the La Plata Museum for the support to the project. So thank you, Save the Snake, for the invitation, and thank you very much. Goodbye.
Great. Wonderful presentation from David. Next up, we have Kamal from Nepal.
Hello, Namaste. I'm Kamal Devkota from Nepal. I am a founding member of Save the Life Society and also a member in IUCN Snake Specialist Group. I'm also a conservation partner for Save the Snakes for Nepal, and today I'm going to present my work promoting coexistence between people and snakes in Nepal. About 26 districts of lowland of Nepal are high risk to venomous snake bite, and WHO 1987 recorded that 1,000 people die annually out of 20,000 snake bite cases. These studies were based on the hospital-based study only, and Alcoba et al. 2022 conducted a study in community as well and estimated that 3,000 people die annually out of 40,000 snake bite cases. In Nepal, there are 84 species of snakes has been already recorded, among which 20 species are considered as venomous. And in Nepal, there are 2 species of cobras, common cobra and monocled cobras were found. And also 1 species of king cobra is also found. 6 species of corets are found. Russell's viper, some green pit vipers, some mountain pit vipers, and a few ravedofish species are considered as venomous snakes of Nepal. There are a huge conflicts between human and snakes in Nepal. Generally, people of Nepal have do not have the basic idea about snake and snake bite, and they prefer to kill whatever the snake, whatever they encounter. And these all are due to the lack of awareness and fear of being bitten by the snakes. Some people also kill the snakes, destroy the nest, and destroy the eggs as well. So in the picture, we can see that the people have killed all the 17 amphisma individuals which was found in the vicinity, and due to the lack of awareness and assuming the species is venomous, they killed all those species. The people perception towards snakes is not very positive, and the conservation threats like habitat destruction, developmental activities, and human persecutions are major conservation threats for the snakes. People prefer to use multiple tourniquets, and they are using cutting the wound, soaking the wound, which is not recommended by the medical experts. So most of the people still believe that the tourniquet will help after the snake bite. So they tie a multiple tourniquet, and still few people using cutting and socking method. Some people using herbal medicine, and very few people using pressure immobilization bandaging methods. And around 80% people are going to the hospital providing antivenom therapy, and still few people believe that the traditional healers can also cure the snake bite patient, and they prefer to visit the traditional healer before going to the hospital. These studies are based in the small village from the Rupandai district, and in the picture we can see that the effect of snake bite, due to which people fear, and the conflict increases. In the picture we can see that people tying multiple tourniquet, and he is also sticking with the snake stone. They believe that by applying the snake stone in the snake bite area, the stone will receive all the venom from the body, and it will heal fast. So they are using the snake stone, and other traditional methods to cure the snake bite patient. But due to these activities, people just go very lately to the hospital, and more complication, they suffer from the more complication. So to overcome these problems, we are trying to conduct some research program, capacity building programs, training and awareness programs for the community people. And we have conducted probably for the first time snake bite management training for a 1 week. The first day for traditional healer, second day for female community health volunteer group, similarly for women social worker stakeholders, and 2 days for the snake rescuer, and the last day for the academicians including medical personnel and biologists. And we are planning for the second phase of these trainings. We have also designed Save the King project to protect the vulnerable king cobra, and to minimize the mortality of king cobra. So we also conducted Save the King project, and we are conducting research on nesting ecology of king cobra. And recently we have released 57 hatchlings to the national park area with the help of Division Forest Office and National Park. So this is the picture from the Rupandai district that we have conducted pre-questionnaire survey and post-questionnaire survey to the students from the 30 schools. And interestingly, it was found that most of the students do not have the basic knowledge about the snake and snake bite, and they are willing to participate in our more awareness programs. We have conducted more than 100 awareness programs for the community people, and one of our major awareness program is Nepal Snake Festival. And in this festival, we show the cultural dance, and we also apply the religious way to celebrate and aware people for snake conservation. We celebrate Nag Panchami, which is also a snake festival in Nepal, and we utilize different aspects of art like face painting, hand painting, drawing competition, photo exhibition, snake art, snake rescue method demonstration, harping and nature walk. And we also conduct snake handling methods, and we keep the awareness stalls, and most of the visitors get knowledge about different species of snakes through the stalls. And we have also a medical expert team who talked about the frosted methods and snake bite management in hospital, and they have the separate stalls in the snake festival. We also display the museum specimen of snakes to the visitors, and we have made some of the snake and snake bite documentary which we screen during Nepal Snake Festival. We are planning for the Nepal Snake Festival Chapter 3. Chapter 1 and 2 has been already conducted in the last 2 years. And for these years, we are planning for the September 18 and 19 on the occasion of International Snake Bite Awareness Day. And through this presentation, I request you all to support our program in Nepal, because we are struggling very hard for the funding. And not only the snake festival, you can support our many other programs, research program, capacity building programs. So this is my humble request. Our other program is Theater in Education, where we collaborate with the different theaters in Nepal, and we have already collaborated with renowned theater Actors Studio Nepal and Mandala Theater Nepal during the Nepal International Theater Festival, where more than 20 countries have participated and showed their drama. And in the picture, you can see that Nepali filmmakers and artists have launched our Snakebite educational video documentary posters during the Nepal International Theatre Festival. And these artists and filmmakers have already won the National Film Award, and some of their films has been already screened in the larger international platform like Busan International Film Festival, Venice International Film Festival, and many others. So former Miss Nepal is also supporting our program, and she is trying to hold the non-venomous snakes, and many other artists. Mr. Dayang Rai, a renowned theater and film artist from Nepal, is also promoting our snake conservation work during the festival. So whenever we got an opportunity, we just go enter to the theater hall and educate the audiences. Sometimes the hall was booked by the students, and we just grab the opportunity to make them aware. And outside the drama hall, we keep the stalls and make the visitors aware about the snake and snake bite. We also conduct rescue and relocation of snakes, and we release it in the presence of forest officials. So we conducted awareness program for the grassroots level community to medical personnel, snake charmers and traditional healer, students and teachers. And in the picture you can see many community awareness programs conducted by our team. And sometimes when there is no electricity or any other technical equipment, we show and educate people through brochures and posters only. And these all are from the community awareness program, school awareness program for Nepal Army. And this is probably for the first time that 600 army were participated in our awareness program in a single day. We also celebrate different occasions like World Snake Day, International Snake Bite Awareness Day, World Environmental Day, World Wildlife Day, and many other days. We also conduct snake handling training for the community people, and in the picture you can see that two women are trying to hold the snake in a very professional way, and they are participating in our snake handling program. We also conduct training for the municipal police. These are the pictures from the Kathmandu metropolitan city and Buddha Nilkantha municipality. We have already conducted snake handling training for the municipal police, and we are conducting more programs in the futures. We also conducting awareness program through audio-visual medium, and we just broadcasted snake bite public service announcement for the public through the different radio and FMs. And we also made some educational documentary about snake bite and snake rescue, which are available in the YouTube, and you can watch from there at free of cost. So what we educate during our program, we first educate them about the importance of snake, like ecological importance, medical importance, cultural importance, religious importance, and why it is called snake farmers friends, like that. And also we aid how to prevent yourself from the snake bite, what to do and what not to do during snake bite, what are the medical expert recommended first aid methods. We include all these topics during our educational programs. So here is some of the findings with the support of community people. So we have recorded the first report of leucism for the Bangaras Wali and Bangaras Niger. Both are the first record in respective species, and we also recorded two-headed snakes 2 times, which are also the first record for Nepal and the entire world as well. And we recorded many other interesting things with the support from the community. Thank you for your time.
Fantastic presentation, Kamal. It's so great to see such a huge diversity of education methods being done. And from the reactions coming in, yeah, I think our audience loved that. Okay, next up we have Rosa and Diana from Guatemala.
Hi everyone, my name is Rosa and today I'm happy to share with you our project funded by Save the Snakes grant called Making Our Way into Human-Snake Coexistence in Resilient Communities in Guatemala. This took place in Colonia La Dignidad, a relocated community in Escuintla, Guatemala, a place formed after the 2018 eruption of the Fuego volcano. Our activities were carried out at the Tikva Center, a space where we work closely with kids and the local community. So why snakes and why this community? In Guatemala, snakes are often misunderstood. Many people fear them, think they are evil, or that they are always dangerous. So this leads to a lot of snake killings, even if the snakes are harmless. So we choose this community because it's made of people who were relocated after a major natural disaster, and many of them didn't grow up in this area and aren't familiar with the local biodiversity, especially snakes. That makes it a perfect place to start creating awareness and promoting peaceful coexistence with snakes. So we decided to focus on 4th-grade students, 28 kids in total, and our goal was to empower them to understand snakes, respect them, and share what they learn. We believe that if kids grow up with the right information and empathy, they can become ambassadors for biodiversity in their own communities and start real change at home. So what we did, we designed a fun and interactive program with 5 sessions. First, we did a diagnostic and introduction to snakes to understand their current perceptions. Then a session of the importance of snakes in ecosystems. 3, we talk about myths and snake preventions, what's true, what's not, and what to do in case of an emergency. In the 4th session, the kids prepare their own material for this dance for a snake fair. And finally, we held the snake fair where the kids presented what they learned to their families, teachers, and neighbors. We also did a post-diagnosis to see the change in perception. To support all of these, we created a lot of materials like printed booklets, posters, brochures, interactive games like Super Snake board game that you saw in the previous slide, a giant memory. Also, we had audiovisual tools, short presentations with videos, and of course, we have prizes and creative tools for their stands at the fair. We wanted everything to be visual, playful, and easy to remember, something they could take home and talk about. And finally, this project wouldn't have happened without our amazing team of volunteers. Some helped design it and create these materials. Others supported the sessions directly. We also had local families donating snacks, the Tikva Center offering space, and overall a positive response from the community. That support helps the kids feel like they were doing something important and they really made a difference. So that's my part, and now I'll hand it over to Diana, who will share that we've observed during the fair how the children's perception changed and what's next. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosa. Hello, everyone. My name is Diana Velázquez, and I am going to present to you in the next following slides some of the information we gathered, the insights, and the lessons learned from this project. As you can see in the pictures, we had 5 in-person sessions that followed the models of the booklet. This booklet was designed to cover from very basic information about snakes and then moving into a little more complex topics about snake bite accident and what to do and what not to do. All the tools that we use were designed along with the sessions to have fun activities, because one of the major challenges, but also a big opportunity for us in this project, was to build relationships with the children, especially since we were talking to displaced communities that were coming from the highlands and then moving into a low elevation tropical area. We were aware of the fact that this was not only a shift in what they are used to see in terms of biodiversity, this was a major life change for them. So we wanted to have open and honest conversations for them and position ourselves as allies in this complicated situation. And so from the conversations we had and the small questionnaires, we gathered basic information from children's perspective towards snakes. As you can see in the left side, at the beginning of the project, 52% of the children disliked snakes, and by the end of the project in session 5, 100% reported that they liked snakes and they saw them as cool animals. And on the right side, this was accompanied by the question, do you think they are important in your daily life? And this is not only a positive perception, but also a recognition of the snake importance in the ecosystem. It was remarkable, the shift in the knowledge of general information about snakes. Before the project, there was a lot of myths, fear, and confusion, a lot of stereotypical ideas like eating humans, or that some of the snakes ate fruits or human food. And then by the end of the project, you could see that there was a clear understanding about the biological facts about snakes and a lot more accurate knowledge that was focused on local snakes. And this was a major highlight by the end of the project. Then we had the big event called the Snake Fair. This was our final session. It was the first snake fair in Guatemala, and we are very proud of this. This was designed as the modules that were covered in the booklet. And in this, they were organized in small groups and were accompanied by one of the volunteers that helped and supported us doing all the project. And they had all the materials to prepare the posters and the information they wanted to share with the community. We invited the parents, we invited community members and locals to accompany to come into this fair. It was a great space for them to present some of the results of these 5 sessions. And it was a great moment to see how children saw the reaction of their community towards snakes, which was very similar to the one they had on session 1. And by the end of the project, they had all the information to be patient and empathetic with adults while explaining what they have learned and how now they can coexist respectfully with snakes in this area. And we learned that children are powerful agents of change. We are the means to transfer knowledge to the real agents of change in the localities that we are working at. And we are very grateful that children were so open and participative in all the sessions. Also that it's very important to create a safe, joyful learning space. It takes time to build relationships, so we think that 5 sessions were kind of short, but enough for us to create a relationship with the community. Then it's also very important to have creative educational tools to show that science and conservation can be fun. And at last, and one of the biggest lessons was to see how conservation is about positioning people at the center. Understanding the context is really important for success in conservation. In this project, we had to understand we were working with displaced communities and all the challenges that they face every day in the area. So for children, this was a lot more than just an educational space. And what's next for this project? Well, we think we need to expand to parents and teachers and try to diagnose what's the situation regarding human-snake coexistence with adults. Also, we want to include nearby communities and other key actors, such as the community health centers, the local firework department, and other key actors in the area that are important for conservation and for preventing snake bite accidents in the zone. We also want to address the structural gaps in environmental education. We would like to integrate this booklet into local schools since they have, access to the kids and to time to have scientific information transferred to them. And then also to plan for the future, we want to sustain the program for a long term. We are looking not only to create a baseline regarding perception, but also about ecology and a baseline for a lot of snake species, since this is something that has not been worked in Guatemala before. So we want to create a program that not only covers environmental education, but also some research, and also to build local capacity. I think that it's necessary to have a point of contact in the localities we work at, because we can't be there all the time. So we saw how other teenagers and teachers and some parents were very interested in the topic, and they can become this point of contact for snakes. And finally, we want to give some acknowledgements. First, thank you to Save the Snakes. Thank you for trusting the funds to us. We are very grateful, and we felt very privileged to be selected for this, and we hope to collaborate with you in the future. We want to thank to the amazing team of volunteers. You can see them in the pictures. They are not all of them. We are still missing some of the volunteers that supported the process virtually. So thank you so much to the volunteers. Thank you to the TICVA Center staff for supporting our ideas since the beginning and for being with us during the 5 sessions. And of course, we want to thank the children of Colonia La Dignidad. Thank you for being open with us and for teaching us so much more than we could teach you. So thank you to all the kids. Yes, so finally from Rosa and I, gracias. And we are open to hear your questions and comments.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And so great to see the wonderful work that you guys are doing in Guatemala. I'm now going to open the floor up for questions. Our speakers can unmute themselves and turn on your videos. David unfortunately could not join us, but his colleagues, Michaela Arquez, is here. So I'm going to ask you guys the same question I asked the previous speakers. When it comes to the public perception of your projects outside of the people that you were engaging with, how was your project received?
Yeah. Hi. Well, in terms of the public perception in general, I think there's usually a first reaction of why are you doing this? We also are part of a project for crocodile conservation here, so we have worked with very stigmatized species before, and I think that although the perception is usually negative, there's always the curiosity wins for people. So they are open to hear for us. And because they all have experiences with these animals in the areas they live. In general, although the perception about certain species is negative, the way they receive our projects is very open and positive. And usually people is very also open to have like a follow-up, like they want us to be more present in the area. So yes, I don't know, Rosa, if you want to add something.
Thank you, Diana. Yeah, that's in general, like Diana said, we usually work with these animals that are misunderstood, and also children's talk about some histories about snakes and about how they saw their parents or some people kill them in the area. So it was very interesting to hear that and then see the results and the change of the perceptions of the kids. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic. I have a question for you guys, specifically when it comes to the kids. Something we've noticed in our education efforts is that there's a big difference between the girls and the boys, and often the girls are a lot scared, a lot more scared, and a lot more hesitant to approach the topic or even engage. Have you had similar experiences?
Well, in general, I will say that in rural areas that could be a pattern, but nowadays, I think that difference between girls and boys, it's getting less evident for us, especially when they are younger, like when they are still learning and they are not so scared or afraid to be themselves. Like you can see how girls can be as interested and brave and they don't feel too hesitant, but when you move into teenagers, that becomes a little trickier because then you have to find out what's the best methodology to know if they are actually scared or maybe just hesitant because they don't want to show everyone that they are interested in snakes. So I think that's changing, and that also changes when they see women as Rosa and I doing certain stuff with the species, because then that's something that it is possible for them as well. So that will be our experience. Mm-hmm.
Rosa, do you want to add anything else?
Thank you. Yeah, it's what Diana said, and also we could be able to show that both boys and girls participate in the games and searching their ideas in the same way. So I think it was very positive to show how both participate. Yeah.
Fantastic. Very good to hear. Michaela, regarding David's project, the same question. What are the perceptions that people have when they hear about the project, and what kind of engagement do you get?
Hello. Yes. Well, we don't engage many people when we are researching, because in the natural reserve where we work and the hours where we do the service, there aren't many visitors, which is in the morning and in the evening. But when we get to meet some tourists or visitors, they often ask why are we equipped like we are with the antennas and the protections. And then we get to explain them the project, and mostly adults, they are first worried about us. They ask if we are not worried that the snake will bite us. and obviously we answer that no, that they are not aggressive, but that's it. Mostly adults have a negative view of these animals because we believe that this is what they have grown up with this negative perception. But when we talk with kids, they are really receptive and interested about the project, and mostly start to ask different questions. So that mostly kids have a really good, or they are more interested, more curious. That's the nature of children, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. And do you guys have plans to engage with the community more regarding your project specifically?
Yes, David he delivered a set of talks with the community. He has this project called Reptiles de Tandilia where he informs with different meetings to schools or firefighters, for example. And we are working on delivering more talks.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. And Kamal, with all the different variations in education activities, have you found one that has been more effective than the others? For example, is sharing posters more effective than doing the theater production?
Yes, sometimes it depends on the types of audience or visitors, and whether we are conducting the program in the urban city areas or in the rural village areas. So it depends, and I have found combined type of response on that as well. And while we conduct the snake festival, most of the girls are also equally participate when it comes to toss the snakes. We just give an opportunity to catch the non-venomous snakes, and girls are also equally participating in our programs. And as you said, we are collaborating in theater from the Kathmandu, which means capital city of Nepal, and also the urban areas. So most of the people have no, they don't have seen the snakes in their lifetime as well. So while we conduct the program in those areas, they are more interested and more attracted towards the program. While we collaborate with the theater as well, because there is also a diverse type of audiences, from the small children, school students, to the renowned celebrities. So most of them got a first time opportunity to see the snakes and to catch the snakes. So I found a combined type of response.
That's fantastic, and I guess that makes sense. It's always nice to see that variation in the response. You are probably one of the few people that have been able to do snake education from a media perspective, where you're using theater and you're getting celebrities involved, which can be quite difficult in other parts of the world. Do you have any recommendations on how other people might be able to do something like that?
Actually, my base is also from the theater. That's why, as compared to other general people, it is easy to collaborate or to meet them as compared to common people, because they don't have access to directly meet to the celebrities and approach their projects. And sometimes the celebrity demand a lot of money as a brand ambassador, or maybe like other type of engagement. So yes, it is definitely hard things, but while it comes to the community contribution, community awareness, I think if someone has approach or access to reach the celebrity, definitely I found that in Nepal also most of the celebrity want to involve in some type of community engagement projects, or they want to contribute something in community, and they are also not getting the right persons. So whenever both team or both researcher and celebrity come in contact, definitely it will be a good idea, and it will help to reach in a large community people. So we just go to the school, colleges, and anywhere we can gather very less community people when it comes to the mass awareness. But while we collaborate with the celebrities, just because of their name, we can gather more communities and just give them basic idea about the snake and snake awareness. But in the large mass people, it's hard to conduct all type of project, like snake handling and other which we design our course, like sometimes it 1 day training course, or sometimes 2 days, 3 days, like that. It is hard to conduct those type of project. But while it comes to just to aware them about the snake bite, and when bite happens, you have to go to the hospital without delaying any treatment. So when we want to convey short messages, it is the most effective way to involve celebrities.
Fantastic. That's yeah, it's good to hear, and it's nice to see again that variation in the projects. I particularly like the fact that you had so many women being trained and being featured in the project. When you initially started that project, were the women a bit more hesitant to learn the training?
Those pictures were from the rural areas, and in the rural areas of Nepal, most of the female are, they are more busy in the household activities. So they encounter, there is the probability to encounter with snakes more to females than the males. And our epidemiological data also suggests that the female have more snake bite as compared to the male. And when we go to the grassroots community, I found that female are also interested to participate in these type of trainings. But unfortunately, we don't have many more trainings in the rural areas. Yes, definitely government of Nepal is conducting snake bite management training for the medical person, which is also a good. But while it comes to the community people, there is very less opportunity to involve. And while we go and approach some female as well, so I found that they are also equally interested to participate in any kind of snake related awareness program.
Fantastic. I think it's so great to hear across all the different projects how just learning about snakes and becoming interested in snakes just a little bit allows you to gain this trust, and it helps you overcome that fear. And I think we often don't realize just the small impacts that we make when we talk about our projects and share what we're doing. So thank you so much to everyone that just presented. I think we are going to move on to our next speaker, and we have a special one because we have a member of our advisory committee, Andrew Durso, who will be sharing his presentation. Over to you, Andrew.
Hello. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Let me get the screen share going here. Thanks so much for the invitation, Harald. It's really a pleasure to be.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, no problem. It says I'm not allowed to share my screen. Do you need to maybe add me to a list of special
I think
people?
you should be able to. Maybe now.
All right. Let's try this. Okay. How does that look? Do you see the flying snake?
Yes.
Good. And now you see the slides.
Yes, perfect.
Wonderful. Okay. So, hello. I'm Andrew Durso. I'm a member of the Save the Snakes board. American snake biologist, population and community ecologist, and for the past several years, I've been working on using computer vision, so AI, for snake species identification. I started this work when I was living in Switzerland as a postdoc in 2018, and essentially our goal was to try and make the Merlin Bird ID app for snakes, which at first glance, at least from a technical perspective, doesn't seem that different, right? If you're familiar with computer vision, then you gather a bunch of images, you train an algorithm to recognize the images, you give it all the different species labels and say, this is a king cobra, and this one is a banded krait, and this one is a black-necked spitting cobra, and so on and so forth. And you can give it thousands of categories, and as long as you have enough images per category, then it extracts features on its own. You don't tell it what to look for, it just figures out what is similar and what is different about these images, and then it can make predictions. You test the output on a different set of images. So we tried this, and I'm going to start by telling you a little bit about what we did, and then I'll end with some of the limitations and why it's still not really ready. And if anyone has questions, feel free to ask. I don't know how you're doing the questions, Raul, if people are putting them in the chat, or if you want people to raise their hand, save them for the end. I'm fine with anything. So
yeah, we'll do them at the end.
Great. Okay. So as a postdoc, I set out to gather images of as many snake species as I could, which was really fun. We managed to gather at least one photograph of a live individual of 3,098 snake species, which at the time was just under 80% of all the snake species that were then described. Of course, we know that more new snake species are described every year, so this is the kind of thing that needs continuous updating, but the numbers I'm showing you are accurate as of about 3 years ago. So I'm sure you can fill in the blanks if you know a lot about snakes. Of those 3,098 species, you can sort of see the breakdown there on the right. Kind of the center ring is the blind snakes in that tiny little gray sliver that's on the top, and then all of the non-blind snakes in the darker gray. Then the middle ring is the families, with Viperidae and Colubridae sort of called out with arrows, and the other smaller families unlabeled. And then the outermost ring are the genera. So I've labeled 3 of the genera where we had the most images, all North American species, the rattlesnake genus Cryptalis, and then 2 Natricines. So of these, we said that in order to train our algorithm, we needed to have at least 10 images per species. And that cut it down by a lot. So of those 3,000 species, only 772 had at least 10 images. So the vast majority had somewhere between 1 and 9. And it really brought it down to only about 20% of all described snake species. There's a good balance between venomous and non-venomous, more or less reflecting the proportions that exist in nature. Some geographical bias, which I'll talk about in a minute, but actually not as bad as we expected. We got these images from a variety of different sources. A lot of them came from iNaturalist and HerpMapper, the 2 primary herpetology citizen science databases that are out there. But we also went to other online sources of images like photo sharing sites, Wikimedia. We collected some data from different social media sites. The reptile database contributed a lot of images. And then we also reached out to snake enthusiasts, snake biologists, herpetologists, museum curators, people who had private collections of snake images that they had kept throughout their lives. And that in the sort of peach color there in the upper left, you can see that contributed a significant fraction of images. So if you have a collection of images like this, especially one that contains pictures of rare snakes from under-surveyed parts of the world, then let me know, because we are still interested in ingesting more of these images for testing and training and improving the coverage of this algorithm. And in particular, what you'll see is that even though iNaturalist and HerpMapper really dominated in terms of the total number of images, a lot of those smaller data sources provided some really unique species, right? So particularly the literature, that light pink on the bottom, this is going into like primary species descriptions and extracting photographs from species descriptions, mostly recently described species, since of course species that were described long ago don't have photographs in the descriptions. They probably have drawings instead, if they have anything. Sometimes it's just text. So that one was particularly fruitful in terms of adding new species into the data set. Taking a quick look at how our coverage compares to other groups of animals and plants. So we're not doing quite as well as birds, but we're not actually doing too terribly badly. We're, you know, close to 80%. The bird people are kind of in the mid 90%. So we're not doing as bad as you might think. Relative to birds and plants for actually being able to include them in the vision algorithm. So that's the panel on the right. The left panel is just any image at all, and the right panel is, do we have enough images to train an algorithm? We're definitely behind birds on images, but we're ahead of birds a little bit for sounds, and we're way ahead of plants, at least proportionally. Now, of course, there are hundreds of thousands of plant species and only 4,000 snake species, so their job is a lot harder than ours. But I wanted to show at least one slide showing that data for snakes are not as bad as you might think compared to other groups of organisms. To train the algorithm, we use an algorithm based on something called Vision Transformer, which is one of the more, at least at the time, it was one of the newer computer vision algorithms. It's already a couple of years old, but it does a pretty good job. I'll just show you a little bit about the performance. If you want a lot of technical details, you can read the article, which I should have put the citation here on this slide, but it is on a later slide. So overall, we got really good performance. The accuracy for making the correct species as the top prediction was 96% at the species level and 99% at the genus level. So that's really quite good, I think. The F1 score is kind of like accuracy, but it also balances false negatives against false positives. So it's a little bit lower. Accuracy doesn't take into account any of those false positives. So what I mean by that is, like, if it really is a king cobra, then you say it's a king cobra 96% of the time. That's the top one accuracy. But then the F1 score also takes into account times when you misidentified other species as king cobras. And so that's a little bit lower, 92% at the species level and almost 95% at the genus level. And one of the things that really helped here is that we also included some metadata from the geographic location. So just the country level location improved performance 2 to 3% across the board. You've probably used other tools like this before. So iNaturalist has one of the most well-known ones. This is a picture of a timber rattlesnake that I took last week when I was in Minnesota for the North American Herp conference. And we can see that the iNaturalist computer vision algorithm does a pretty good job. They're pretty sure it's in the genus Crotalus, and the top suggestion is the correct species, timber rattlesnake. The Herp Mapper algorithm does a similarly good job, also suggesting timber rattlesnake with 99.99% confidence. I like this because it actually shows you the numerical value that it has for confidence for each species, which iNaturalist is apparently debuting this feature too in their newest version of the iPhone app. They now have percentages, and eventually that'll come to Android as well. There's also, if you don't know about it, an app called SnakeSnap, where you can pay a monthly subscription fee to have access to a group of experts who will identify your snake for you. I didn't run this image through SnakeSnap, but I guarantee you the experts there would also have identified it correctly as a timber rattlesnake. And so our algorithm kind of works in a similar way as the iNaturalist and Herp Mapper ones, but it is specific only to snakes, and it has wider coverage across snakes of the globe than either of these two. I'll show one confusion matrix. So what this does is it shows you the name of the correct species along the horizontal axis, and then it shows you what species was predicted by the algorithm along the vertical axis. So if you see the dark blue shaded boxes with a 1 in them, that means that that species was correctly predicted 100% of the time. So like the second one here, the scarlet king snake, it was always predicted to be a scarlet king snake, so that was correct. Then if there's any that are off the diagonals and have lighter blue colors and smaller numbers, that means that some percentage of the time that species was incorrectly predicted. So these are coral snakes and some of their mimics, which are some of the trickiest snakes to identify anywhere in the world because there's so much strong selection for coevolution and mimicry. You can see there's quite a few here where, 25, 70% of the time in some cases. Here's even one that was always misidentified as a different species. So that's pretty bad. We want to try and clean that kind of thing up. But the good news is that mimics were never misidentified as coral snakes. So this upper left corner here, we never incorrectly called a non-venomous mimic a dangerous snake. We did occasionally call dangerous coral snakes mimics, but pretty low percentage of the time. The highest are these two sort of 20% that are out here on the right. So we'd like to improve this. We have other groups of snakes where we're doing a lot better. So some of the close lookalikes in Asia, for instance, kraits and wolf snakes, or in Africa, thinking about things like some of the harmless green snakes versus boomslangs and green mambas. And in those cases, the diagonal line is much more clear and bright and dark blue. I kind of picked this one intentionally because it has the most to talk about. And it's also one of the areas where we're doing the most poorly, but overall, I still don't think it's too bad. In terms of geographic coverage, this is a map showing the ranges of all the snake species where we don't have any images at all. So particularly Western and Central Africa, the Congo, that's the area where we need to improve the most, but there's also some hotspots in the Malay Archipelago, on Sumatra and New Guinea, and a little bit in Latin America as well. So if you come from one of these regions and you have images of rare snake species, reach out because you might have a picture of a snake that we don't have yet, and we'd love to improve the completeness and coverage. In terms of how well we're covering the snake fauna of each part of the world, you can see that to nobody's surprise, we've pretty much got every species that occurs in Europe, the US, and Canada. And then we're not doing nearly as well in Central and South America, Sub-Saharan Africa, or Southeast Asia, but we're not doing terribly. A lot of those countries have, there's a few kind of lighter green ones in there, typically smaller countries that don't have such a large diversity of fauna. Some of the mega diverse countries, like of course Brazil, Madagascar, New Guinea, still have a long way to go to collect images of all of the rare, exotic, and exciting snake species that occur in these places. What about our performance around the globe? So here the blue means we got the species correctly identified 100% of the time. So performance is pretty good. There's not too many countries where we're getting every species every 100% of the time. I'll just call out the 4 where we have done this. So Canada is one which has 26 species and many hundreds of thousands of images. They're kind of benefiting from spillover from the large number of citizen scientists in the US. South Korea, with only 13 species, and then Nauru and the Maldives, which have only 2 species each, the pelagic sea snake, and in the case of the Maldives, an introduced wolf snake, in the case of Nauru, the Brahminy blind snake. So we are nailing telling Brahminy blind snakes apart from pelagic sea snakes. Good for us. That's not a very difficult pair of species to tell apart. Everywhere else, we still have more work to do, but we are getting there. Couple of important takeaways. One of the things that I learned from doing this project is that having more images is not necessarily better. So in all sorts of projects like this, you see what's called the long-tailed distribution, where you have a few species that have many hundreds of thousands of images, like this garter snake, and then you have many species that have only 1 or 2 images, and you really want to increase those categories. But what you should actually do in order to improve this is, increase the rare categories if you can, but you can also artificially decrease the number of images in the more common categories. So iNaturalist uses a minimum of 100 and a maximum of 1,000 images per species. We used a minimum of 10 images per species, and we didn't have a maximum, but we're starting now to implement lower maxima for the really common species, because otherwise what happens is that the algorithm overpredicts the common species. This is a super confusing graph that I made to try and explain this. So the diagonal line means that the species is predicted about as often as you would expect. And the AI, which is on the left panel, significantly overpredicts species that are really well represented in the training data. So you can see all those points in the upper left corner, whereas there's hardly any points down here in the bottom right corner. It's really rare for that algorithm to predict species that have a few number of images in the training data, even when that's correct. Whereas humans have more of a 50-50 balance between those. Sometimes we guess species that are really common, but other times we guess species that are rare, and sometimes we're correct when we do. So we're closer to a 50-50 split. AI is more like 75% on the side of the species that have a lot of training images, the ones that it has gotten to know really well, if that makes sense. It is better to have more images per species. So this shows the number of images per species against the F1 score for that species. So it does improve as you get larger, but not in every case. There are some species pairs where one of the two species is a little bit more well-known than the other, and usually these are going to be species where there has been some kind of recent taxonomic adjustment. So one widespread species has been split into two or more species, and so the species that has the oldest name, it's like boa constrictor is a perfect example, right? Boa constrictor used to be applied across all of Latin America. Now we have boa constrictor and boa imperator, as well as a couple of species on Caribbean islands, and boa imperator is a name that hasn't been as widely used just because it hasn't, it has been around for a long time, but it hasn't been in use consistently for that entire time period. So the F1 score isn't as good for boa imperator because some of the training images probably are mislabeled is the main reason. We see this especially in North American rat snakes, which are separated into 2 or 3 species, depending on who you talk to, mostly along molecular lines using mitochondrial DNA and other genetic markers. And this is becoming increasingly common around the rest of the world. Carol, I just want to check in with you and make sure, I don't actually remember how long we said I was going to talk for. Is it only 15 minutes? Do you want me to wrap up, or should I keep going?
It is 15 minutes, but we only have one presentation after, so up to you.
So only one after me, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't want to be impolite to them, so I will go ahead and speed through the last couple here so that we have also some time for questions. 1 or 2 other quick observations, and then I'll wrap this up. So one is that performance might actually, it might seem to be better than it actually is when only 1 species per genus is represented. So here we've got one of my favorite snakes, the Australian bandy. It's really unique, and so we pretty much have a perfect score when we try to identify this snake. But there's also 5 other species in this genus that also look really, really similar to Vermicella annulata. And so far, we don't have enough images of those species to include them. So I'm assuming what's going to happen is that this accuracy is going to go down once we start to accumulate other images of these really similar species. But we haven't actually tested this. But what I want to wrap up with here is that we don't have this algorithm available to the public yet, and the main reason for that is that snakes are not birds, right? Birds, generally speaking, cannot hurt you, and obviously most of us here in this audience know that most snakes can't hurt you either, but most people don't know that. And unfortunately, a tool like this, whether you sell it as an ID tool for the general public or as a healthcare support tool, which is where we got the money from to develop in the first place, people are going to use it however they want. And so developing a snake ID app is a little bit more like developing an app to tell apart poisonous mushrooms from mushrooms that are edible than it is like developing the Merlin bird ID app for snakes. So the kinds of questions that have come up that have sort of slowed our progress are things like, what happens if somebody tries to use this technology to identify a snake, makes a bad decision and gets bitten, or they've already been bitten, and then the ID leads to the incorrect treatment and someone gets hurt or dies? Who's liable for that? Whose fault is it? We don't want to mislead people into making bad decisions. And so that's kind of a difficult question to answer. The follow-up question to that is, will anyone ever really trust AI enough to use it in an emergency room healthcare decision-making context? So you've got a patient that comes in with a snake bite. They took a picture of the snake. The computer vision algorithm says it's this, and there's no herpetologist on hand to confirm or deny. Is that really good enough, or do people want to keep humans in the loop? And so far, the responses we get are that we want to keep humans in the loop, right? We trust humans more than AI, at least so far. Obviously, AI has come a long way in the several years since we started developing this project. But I think if I were the snake bite victim, I didn't know anything about snakes and my life was on the line, I think I'd want a human expert to verify before we proceeded with some treatment. And of course, human experts are limited, right? There's not that many of us. We've got maybe several thousand people around the world that are really competent globally in snake ID. And so we want to compensate these people for their ID assistance. And we want to do that at scale in a way that's sustainable. But you can't really do that without being a commercial entity, which is something that most research and humanitarian organizations are unwilling to do. And also could create some really perverse incentives, and we're not really sure how to handle this problem. I don't know the best way to answer this. So yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. I'll just show you the last slide here, which shows an image that, in my opinion, is beyond any level of technology or expertise to identify. I'm sure you've all seen images like this in your Snake ID groups and in your WhatsApp groups and things like that. And if there's time, I'm super happy to take any questions. Sorry for going a bit over, but thanks very much for your attention.
No problem. Thank you so much. So what we've been doing is just doing all the presentations, and then we have a longer question and answer time. So we're happy to stick around, then we'll just move on to the next one.
Perfect. I'll go ahead and mute, and then I can jump back on if anyone has a question following the final presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So next up, we have an amazing presentation from the Wild Snake Project in Tanzania.
Hello everyone, I'm Dixon Katana from Kenya, and I am Collins Amsala. We are working with the World Snake Project here in Kenya, together with Vela, a team who is in Tanzania. She's doing a really great job doing education work in Tanzania. What do? We do children's education. We visit schools and education initiatives all around Kenya and in northern Tanzania, to teach as many children as we can about snakes. Our community outreach as well. We go to the communities, educate adults and about snakes, what to do when they encounter a snake, and snake bite first aid. We hand out anti-snake bite kits to the most vulnerable communities. We also do monitoring. We monitor snakes, particularly the endemic Kenya horned viper in the Rift Valley. We do snakes education, mostly in classrooms, where we mobilize the kids and we go to the classrooms, we teach them about snakes, and we carry our special book here. You can see activity book. Yeah, that's an activity book, and us a lot. Do snakes anatomy, and we teach them about different types of snakes, because maybe some communities that doesn't have that chance to see as many snakes in their areas. Also, in the book there is about identification, and we have some coloring activities here. They always participate. In the same book, there is first aid page there, and they get that chance to learn more about different types of snakes, between the venomous and the non-venomous ones, what they will do in case one gets bitten, and yeah. And this book also teach them where they find snakes, and where do snakes live, and what the snakes need, so that if they're at home, they should know where they can find snakes and where they can put things safe to make sure snakes, they don't come to their home. Exactly. And we don't only go to schools alone. We also visit camp areas. We work with Eden Thriving. They give us a platform where we can find many kids there. And so far, we have children and adults. We taught like 5,000 them in general. So about the camping area, I find it as a very nice place because there is forest there. We have a good habitat for the snakes. So we go around with the kids, helping a little so they can know where to find snakes. So the first encounter, you'll know that these kids need to learn a lot. That's why at the first approach, before we do all that, we give them pre-post survey, pre and post survey, to analyze how they take the nature and how they think about snakes while at home. So this gives us a chance to analyze the data, how to show changes in the attitude towards snakes. And children's more inclined to keep snakes in the wildlife after the lessons. Even at home, children are more open to keep snakes alive, depending on whether the snake is harmless or not. Some children, even they go outside there, they become good ambassadors to the other children and other family members.
Correct. So we have been doing a surveying to know where is the hotspots, snake bite areas all over the country, and this is which is give us to approach this community to teach them how they can live peace and harmony with the snakes, because snakes, they are part of our ecosystem. And the community where we have reached, and we try to talk them about snakes, most of them, like the grown-up people, sometimes get really dream to change them their mind to understand that snakes, they are part of our ecosystem. But our education really helps after we give them the lecture. And then later on, if you pass by this community and you ask them how they feel about snakes, some they give you really positive answers, how they think about snakes. There is a lot of myths in the villages whereby you arrive there and you start talking about snakes. People, they tell you you're a witch. A good snake is only a dead snake, which is the thing which still stick in adults people, rather than the kids. It's really easy to them to change about snakes. We visited hotspot snake bite area in Kenya, which we had a case of that in 2 weeks they had like 4 snake bite cases in 2 weeks. And these leads us, we wanted to understand, is it true? And we take our time to go to the hospital to look into these people who get bitten by snakes. And it was really true. We arrived in the hospital and we saw 3 patients. One was already admitted, was already went home. And these 3 was a kid she was get bitten by a snake on the finger, on the ring finger, and they took her to hospital. But before they took her to hospital, they used the traditional methods, which was very bad. And this leads to this kid lost her finger. And this kid, she lost her wedding ring, which her parents were really afraid that she'll have a problem on the time she wanted to get married. But fortunately, she saved her life. We give our talk into this community about how they need to do once if they get a case of a snake in the house, or if someone gets bitten by a snake, what they should do, and how they can live in peace with the snakes, because we educate them to understand that if we save the snakes, also it will lead for our good harvesting in their farmlands, because snakes, they balance in the rodents which eating their crops in their farm. We got some first aid kits from abroad, which we take them into these remote places which have these snake bite cases. whereby they can use it when a snake bite happen before they go to hospital, so that they can stop by using these traditional methods. Especially in Kenya, there is a means, or I would say there's a treatment which is known as a black stone, which is very common into the community, people sharing it, and most of the people, they don't know if this medication, it works or it's not, but the reality is not working. It's just a mindset for most people. For example, if you get bitten by a snake and you're using the black stone, you will say it's working, but the reality is a harmless snake. Next time, if you get bitten by the venomous one and you're using the black stone, this is, you end up having a very, very bad situation, because this black stone, it doesn't work at all. And it's really, really common into the community. If you go to any area in the community, you ask them, what do you do if someone gets bitten by a snake in this area? They will tell you, this is what we do, and they mention the black stone, which is not really well. So our awareness is to make the people to understand what they should do and not to use the black stone or the traditional methods, so that they can save and live again. We do monitoring of the Kenya horned viper, as my colleague mentioned. This snake is only found in the Great Rift Valley of Kenya, and especially this snake, it's in high demand. This snake, it's easy to be killed. This snake, it has venom, but it's not dangerous for adult person, because its venom is very little. But for a small child, can cause a problem. But if people, they can understand about this species, then this species can survive again in the wild. So our main goal is to make all the people to understand the benefits of snakes, and special the Kenya endemics, because there's nowhere else this snake, they're known to be found. Now the threat of the species is the habitat loss, and as you can see on the picture, the degraded area and the area which is still good. This species, it's a habitat preference, and on the area where this species is found is not doing very well. So what we do is to monitor the population to know how is the population does in the world, and how we can see, we can keep monitoring to see how the population does in the world. Yeah, sure. So we have worked together to achieve our goals. Thanks to people who fund us. Thanks for your support. And we really appreciate for your support. And this is our donor, the one you can see them on the screen, ZSL Kenya, Hippotofauna Foundation, the Living Desert Zoo, Palms Foundation, and the World Nature Institute. Yes. And Save the Snakes. So we are really, really appreciate for your support.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. What a great presentation. Yeah, and that pretty much wraps up our talks for today. So now we're going to have an open discussion and question session. So please feel free to ask any questions to any of our presenters. Everybody has done such a fantastic job of sharing the amazing work that they're doing. And it's just a testament of how far providing some of our grants have really gone. And just to let you know, our grant program is open. So if any of you know of someone that wants to apply for a really cool project, then yeah, please do go onto our website and apply for that funding. Okay, do we have any questions? Please go ahead and unmute yourself if you do have any questions. Andrew, I had a question for you. How are you going about pictures or images that come in from any captive snakes, especially with the morphs and that sort of thing?
Yeah, we really tried to omit those as much as we could. Of course, it's not possible to omit every image when you have 750,000. You can't really just like sort through them and remove, but we mostly tried to select data sources that had very few or no images of captive snakes. As you probably know, iNaturalist, they don't want you to upload images of captives, and they have a tag where you can say, is it captive or cultivated, yes or no. So we filtered those out on iNaturalist. There probably are a small percentage of captive snakes, especially like weird color morphs and things in some of the data, but we tried to avoid it as much as we could.
Cool. Thanks so much. Okay, we have a comment in the question in the chat from Sonia. It says, "Dear all, I've been listening carefully. In many places, people get in conflict with snakes. I haven't heard if anyone mentioned any repellent. I've been searching for information and haven't found anything reliable. Local people here always ask if there is some chemical that would repel snakes, and I still do not know." Well, I don't know if I'll leave it to one of our conservation partners to answer that. Anyone willing to answer that?
I can jump in if you like.
Go for it.
So yeah, Sonia, unfortunately, there really isn't anything chemical that can repel snakes. You know, maybe it exists, right? But I think at a large scale, something that is actually economical, I would be very doubtful. The snake repellents that are for sale in the US are typically the ones that contain that sulfur and naphthalene. And I've seen some studies as well showing that it doesn't really work. You know, maybe it has some repelling effects at a very local scale. So, you know, they crawl up to it on the ground and then they decide to, you know, they maybe try to go around it or something. But in nature, it's going to dissipate so quickly into the air. I just don't think it's feasible. What I usually tell people when they're concerned about snakes in their yard is, if you really don't want to have a snake where you live, then you want to change the habitat, right? Try to remove things that would attract them, like water sources or places where their food can hide, or all kinds of like basking sites, logs, rocks, things that they can hide under. That normally does the trick, but it's going to vary a lot depending on where you are in the world, of course.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks, Andrew. I hope that answers your question, Sonia. Cool, thanks so much. Any other questions? The team in Tanzania. I have a question for you that I asked some of the other speakers about some of the perceptions that people outside of your project have about your project. Have you had mostly positive responses? Any other experiences that you'd like to share?
Yeah, thank you so much. Happy World Snake Day, everyone. I'll say, since we started the project, like, we have received a lot of positive impact, and the most thing that we are very happy with is we started with very few schools doing like the training, educating them about the snakes, about different kind of what they can do about when they see a snake or something. And I will say that there is a very good change, like there is a positive impact that has been seen, because when you ask the kids, even on the roads, even on your way, if they can just tell you that when we see a snake, we just have to leave it, or we have to just say, like, we have to report and just leave it alone. And the most important thing is that we have got a very good feedback from schools, and some even new schools keep asking for us to go to give some snakes education, awareness, and things like that. So I would say there is a very good positive impact. Like the kids understanding about snake, they know the types of snake that they are dealing with, and they've learned a good way that they just have to leave the snakes themselves and not to do any other things in case someone has been bitten by a snake. So we are happy for that.
Yeah, great stuff. Yeah, it's been a recurring theme in a lot of the talks today about, you know, how, I mean, education and knowledge is power. We've been able to see that in many education efforts on other wildlife species, in other disciplines, and I think it's becoming quite popular now, or should I say, needs to become a bit more popular now when it comes to snakes. Yes, Laura, go ahead. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you. I'm so moved and so excited to listen everybody here. And I just want to say a big, this is priceless, because it's not that we are all together here celebrating the snakes, but we are also here honoring this diversity. You know, this is a very rich community from different parts of the world, where for some of us it's hard to speak in English, but we are doing it, you know, because snakes are moving us, you know. So we are here together for that, and it is wonderful. So because it's not just, we know that yes, information is power, of knowledge is power, but this is power, I guess, you know. It's the information and the knowledge that is shared, and it is also getting stronger because it is sharing also cultural stuff and emotions and you know, passion. And so I just want to say a big thank you for all of you, and yeah, happy Snake Day.
Thank you so much, Laura. That's partly why we organize this presentation. And as you said, you know, it's incredible to hear from our speakers from around the world, many of them that aren't so confident to speak up, but they're here sharing their projects, and we as Save the Snakes want to be able to provide a platform to be able to do that. The fact that we've had so many viewers today, it's fabulous, and it's so great to see the support that we have from around the world. Of course, you know, this entire symposium has been recorded. It will be on our YouTube channel, and this is just the start of many exciting things that we have in store for Save the Snakes. You know, this was our first time running an event like this, and it's just exciting to see the support that we have for our conservation partners. I mean, it's incredible to see that we can provide a place where people can share the work that they feel so passionate about. And in the process, we're learning about so much. I mean, I think so often when you're in a certain region of the world, you can get very consumed by the species that are just around you, and trying to communicate why those species are important. And by attending presentations like this, you learn that there's so much more going on in other parts of the world not only in terms of snake species diversity, but cultural diversity and the diversity in people's perceptions. But I think that's what's central to it. I think despite the challenges in different parts of the world, I think we can see that, you know, the local education efforts are so important. It's so important to share simple things like being able to identify different snake species, and that's why there's this collaboration that needs to happen between different disciplines. And when I'm talking about that, I mean, you know, research, academia, conservation, education, and I feel like this Snake Week has been a fantastic representation of how we are going forward in terms of doing that. There's so many of us from different parts of the world and different disciplines doing exactly that. Yeah, does anyone have any final thoughts, comments, things that they want to share? Please feel free to do so.
Yes, I want to talk something. Happy World Snake Day. I'm Dixon Katana from Kenya, but now in Tanzania, doing more awareness about the snakes. I'm really super happy to be in this team because snake team is very, very small. So we need more people to come on board in order to save snakes in the wild. So I'm really, really proud to share my passion loving snakes. So thank you everyone on this program.
Great stuff. Thanks, Dixon. Okay, then I think with that, we'll probably wrap up. Once again, a huge thank you to all our speakers today and to everyone that attended the talk today. If you want to support any of these projects, if you know anyone that would like to support these projects, please do get in touch with Save the Snakes. We exist to do more for snake education, conservation, and research. And yeah, keep following our socials, and we'll be bringing you lots of exciting things in the next few years. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Meeting Misha.